All right, I'd like to call to order the Swanton Selectboard meeting of December 17th.
Recording in progress.
I'd like to call to order the regular Selectboard meeting of December 17th, 2024, 6 p.m. First item of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please join me? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda review. Kathy?
I'm good, thank you.
Nicole?
I'm good, thank you.
Earl?
Just a comment, we got all these budgets here tonight, but it would've been nice if we could've got these a few days ago to take a look at, so we'd, had our questions ready for tonight instead of trying to look through it, and, I know we're gonna get an explanation from everybody, but it would be nice to see this stuff before the meeting.
It would be nice every year if we'd see
Yeah.
it before the meetings. I agree. Anything
I
for
don't
the
know
agenda,
how long
Earl?
you've had it. Ryan, have you had it?
Some came in a week or so ago, others came in today.
Oh,
Some were,
Do we have anything for the agenda review?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you. I don't want to.
No, I'd echo Earl's comments, as you saw in my email.
Oh, yeah, I fully understand.
Yep.
Brian, anything for the agenda
yeah,
review?
I got a couple of things. First of all, under Newtown Business, B, letter of support for Canada Streetscape Grant for Village of Swanton. We have a second letter of support for tree planting as part of the beautification for the village, so there'll be two letters there to act on. And I will also have executive session. It says real estate, but it's actually for legal and personnel.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Meeting topic. First item is the regular select board meeting of November 3rd, 2024. I hear a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Public comments, that's for anything that is not on the agenda tonight. Do you actually have anybody on the computer out there?
Susie Kelleher.
Who is it?
Susie Kelleher.
Okay. I'll ask one more time, public comments for anything that's not on the agenda. Okay. Law enforcement, Swanton Animal Control.
Okay, actually the month of November was pretty active. You can have the listing here, nothing real serious, except for the activity on the 16th of November. That was dealt with. There was no cost, by the way, to the town on that. I spoke with Mr. Benson, and he said that this group through social media raised almost instantly $2,000 for that dog's benefit within just a matter of minutes. But unfortunately, the dog had ingested that appeared to be antifreeze and could not be saved and had to be put down. Everything else was kind of a run of the routine, just a lot of calls, and there was assistance from, you got a call from Swanton P.E.G on the 11th for a skunk caught in the lattice of the porch, and so they released the skunk, but it was quite the, between the officer and me and the citizen, it was, well, they got sprayed more than once. So it was, but other than that, it was pretty, yeah. So it's been pretty, it was a pretty active month.
Okay, any comments? All right, moving right along. Northwest Regional Planning Presentation, Catherine Dimitri. Good evening, welcome, yes, to come up to the table.
Happy to. Thanks for putting me on your agenda tonight.
It's nice to see many of you that I've known for a very long time. You know, I hit 30 years this year of regional planning.
Wow,
Can you believe
congratulations.
it? I
That's
can't
the
believe it.
longest in the state, I think, you think? It's a-
There's one more who's longer than me, but I think he's gonna retire next year, so then I can carry the crown. So anyway, it's a pleasure to be here. Seen a lot of changes in the 30 years, most of them really good, so that's great. There are two things I wanted to do tonight. The first is to just check in with the programs and services that we provide in the region and for the town and village of Swanton, and just see if you have any questions about those, hit some of the highlights. And then I wanted to give you a preview of the work we're going to be doing to implement Act 181, which was passed by the legislature last year. So first, just in terms of regional planning, as you probably know, we are a governmental entity. In the absence of county government in Vermont, we're really the only entity that connects municipal government to state and federal governments. We are overseen by a board of commissioners. Each municipality in Franklin and Grand Island counties gets 2 appointees to that board. And your appointees are Nicole and Harold Garrett, and I would like to thank you for both of them because they're wonderful board members, and Swanton has a long history of sending us wonderful board members, most of whom end up in leadership in some level, whether it's chairing the TAC for many years like Earl did, and Harold currently does, or serving on the executive committee or as treasurer, so thank you for that. One of the programs we have at regional planning that we are really proud of is our brownfields program. And that's one where we've connected with Swanton a lot. So we have funding to both assess and clean up contaminated properties. And there are 3 properties in Swanton that we're currently working with. One is the Abnaki property, the other is 124 First Street in the village, and then the 6 River Street. So we've been able to provide funds to both assess and clean up those properties so that they can continue to be used or redeveloped and really be a good economic and community development tool for the town. So together that's about $90,000 we've been able to provide for those properties. And all together in the region, we've brought in about $6 million for brownfields cleanup and revitalization. So that's been a great program for us. We spend some time supporting your energy committee, which is great. You have a great energy committee. They're very active and do a lot of things, so we've really enjoyed that. We also supported recent changes to the village designation, which is a state incentive program that brings tax credits and other benefits to the community. And then the tree planting grant that Brian just mentioned, we're helping with that application too. And we do a lot of that. We help with grant applications and we help with grant administration and project management. We're also moving forward to work with the town. You'll hear more about it right after the new year on the scoping study for 207 and Bushy Road, to look at traffic and circulation improvements that might be needed for the increasing traffic associated with the highway garage and the guard facilities. So more to come on that, and we'll be back in touch when we're ready to go on that. We'll coordinate through Brian. So that's a very quick snapshot. We have a $3 million budget and 16 staff and really wide range of programs. We're here to help you and be your resource whenever you need assistance with anything. And we'll thank you for your municipal contribution. All towns in the region do contribute, and it's a small percentage of our budget, but it's extremely valuable because there's no strings attached, so we use it to match all the grants that we get that fund all the other programs. So it's a hugely beneficial contribution, and we appreciate that. So I'm going to pivot to Act 181. So I don't know if you've heard about that. Act 181 passed last year, made changes to how the state of Vermont does 3 things. Act 250 jurisdiction, the state designation incentive program, and regional planning. So for Act 250, there were some changes that were made with the overall goal of removing barriers for housing. So right before the bill was passed, if you did a residential project that had 10 units or more, you triggered Act 250 review. It didn't matter where you were located. You could be, in the most pristine mountaintop, or you could be in the center of the village in Swanton. 10 units, you need Act 250. There were some immediate changes that went into place in July of this year that raised that exemption, that trigger to 50 units on 10 acres or less if you're within a designated village or a quarter mile outside of it. So right now, for Swanton, within the designated village and a quarter mile outside, you can build up to 50 units without needing to go through Act 250. So that was an immediate change that happened, and that's in place right now. There are a host of other exemptions to Act 250 that were in place, such as commercial conversions to residential, accessory dwelling units, and a lot of other related changes to Act 250 jurisdiction. The goal of these changes is to really have Act 250 not apply in places that are planned for growth, and to really raise that threshold for housing. Right now, for a commercial project, the threshold is 10 acres in Swanton, anywhere in town. And now for housing, it's essentially the same in the growth area. It's 10 acres, 50 units or less. So it really brings housing and commercial in par. In terms of long-term, though, so those are just interim changes that are in place until 2027. Long-term, there's been a change to regional plans. So right now, we do future land use plans just like you do at the local level. And they serve kind of as a basis for some of our long-term policy and visioning and how we support grant applications and projects. But now they're gonna matter for Act 250 jurisdiction. So, all the regional planning commissions across the state are going to be redoing our regional plans. We're all gonna be using the same land use categories, so all 11 regional plans will be done the same way. Though there are 4 land use categories that are in statute now that are those areas that are planned for growth. They're the centers and the areas around them that are really planned for growth. Those areas in the long term, if a town decides to what's called opt-in, will allow that 50 unit housing threshold to stay in place. So when we complete these maps, we're gonna work with your planning,
And the
commercial stays the same.
and so that'd be allowable too.
That'd be, 10 acres would be still be the trigger, in Swanton, so no change to that. And so we'll be working with your planning commission, your joint planning commission, to figure out how to map those areas and where those areas should be in Swanton. And then there will be a decision point that you will need to make as the town, probably mid to late summer. Do you want to opt in? Do you want that 50 unit threshold to continue in the long term? And so that's a decision point you'll have to make at a meeting as an agenda item, and we'll be back in touch when it gets closer to that. So that's one way the regional plans are going to come into play. The other way they're gonna come into play is in the state designation and incentive programs. So right now, there's 5 different designation programs. There's downtown villages, growth centers, new town centers, neighborhood development areas. I think that's 5. It's now gonna be shrunk to 2, centers and neighborhoods. And those boundaries, instead of every town going and applying to the state for their designations, will just be done through the regional plan. So we'll map it in the regional plan, and then your work is done. No more applications, no more renewals, no more state board having to approve it. Our regional plans, when they're done, will be approved by a new statewide board called the Land Use Review Board. That will be appointed sometime soon, because they're supposed to start work in January. So there'll be another review process to our regional plans, which hasn't existed in the past. So once our plans are adopted by the board, our board of commissioners, the Land Use Review Board will approve those plans, and then the designations will be in place, the incentives will be available, and the Act 250 jurisdiction will be in place for the long term if the town opts in. So those are big changes. It's gonna be complicated to get there, but I feel like once we are, we're gonna ask why we didn't always do it this way. So that's it in a nutshell. One thing I wanted to let you know, because we realized this just this week when we started working on the mapping, is because we have to now follow the statutory language for these land use areas. The area of Swanton by exit 20 that we currently have in our growth area in the regional plan does not qualify to be a growth area under this new framework. It doesn't mean development can't happen there, and it doesn't mean our regional plan is gonna say this shouldn't be developed. It's just it won't fall into that planned growth area definition that's now in statute.
How can we get it there, Kathy?
Yeah.
How can you get it there? I think the 2 pieces that are missing are water and sewer and but the big piece is the pedestrian connection. There's no pedestrian connections in that part.
That rail trail don't count.
No, it's not close enough. No. So that is really the pedestrian connection, complete streets is the biggest hurdle probably, just because I know water line's gonna be extended, right? Yeah,
Water there now.
yeah, so it's really the pedestrian connection is the biggest hurdle.
And is that just like a sidewalk that needs to go from like the end of that road there all the way up to that development area, or
Yeah, I think it would have to go from Route 7 to up 207, yeah, into that area,
like where East Rise is there all the way
Yeah.
down?
yeah.
So they won't designate it unless we put a sidewalk in? or-
That's one of the biggest hurdles. I'd have to look at it in more detail to know if there are any others, but I know that for sure that's one.
And it has to physically be there, or can it be part of a plan?
It can be part of a plan if financing is attached. Yeah. Yeah, so it's just something to think about, and I want to let you know now, since we found that out this week when we started
No
that.
exceptions, okay?
Not for that, 'cause that's statutory language, so we can't adjust that. But again, our plan isn't gonna say like no growth should happen there, so I don't think anything that we have in our regional plan, as a result of this, or it won't impact your planning to try to do, growth and development there. What it will mean is that 50 unit of housing exemption won't be, that area won't be eligible for that.
But we could have, if we found a project that was worthwhile, of 50 units or more, we'd have to just go through Act 250.
Just have to go through Act 50, yeah.
Just
So that's-
go act direct.
Just go through Act 250, that's all. But
Say
it
that
won't,
in jest.
Yeah, I know.
so basically it means that area won't be eligible for this new incentive of loosened Act 250 jurisdiction, but nothing will change in terms of our wanting to work with the town to try to develop that into a new mixed use area, so.
Any discussion on the mitigation of lands that have been conserved?
That did not come up in the context of this. It did, the one thing that did come up is a conversation of tier 3, so there's now tiers of jurisdiction for Act 250. Tier 1 is where the growth areas are. Tier 2 is status quo, so no change, and then tier 3 is areas of highest importance to the state to be conserved, and there might be increased jurisdiction in tier 3 areas, and where that's gonna be done by rule by the Agency of Natural Resources over the next 18 months. Where it did come up is the conversation of making sure that no one town bears any burden of too much of that tier 3 conservation area. I think Swanton would qualify in that, since you already bear the burden of a lot of conserved lands.
52% of our land,
Yep.
and there's been some more lands conserved
Mhm.
recently, so that number's probably higher, so they've strangled us, of course,
Mhm.
but no consideration for that, no
Plus,
exemptions.
you gotta take into the fact that we put the 18 acres for the state highway garage and
Yeah.
40 acres is gonna go for the National Guard, so
Mhm.
there ought to be some consideration there.
I don't disagree.
And maybe they could put a sidewalk in.
Maybe you wanna make them put a sidewalk in. You know, I'm never gonna argue against a sidewalk, so.
Sidewalk to nowhere.
It wouldn't be in nowhere though. Not all, like sidewalks to nowhere may start off that way. But every sidewalk for the first foot's a sidewalk to nowhere.
Well, in that situation there, it would make more sense to use the rail trail than put a sidewalk down through the interstate exchanges and all that. Did somebody, Burlington, South Burlington, aren't they having problems with people walking across where the interstate?
I mean,
They're putting a
it's,
pedestrian, they're getting ready to build a pedestrian bridge across
Yeah.
there. I
Yeah,
think,
after,
going
yeah.
there.
I mean, it's tricky, it's complicated, but they're building pedestrian access at exit 16, which is much more complicated than exit 21. Yeah. So I wanted to just give you a preview of what's to come. So as I said, we'll be working with your planning commission on the mapping of the areas to make sure, to the extent we can within what's in statute now, we can make it reflect the needs of Swanton, and we'll go from there.
So will that cause a rewrite of the plan essentially? I would
Yeah.
think so, and then possibly the bylaws following up with that.
Well, so it'll cause us to have to write our plan.
Right.
It's not gonna cause you to have to rewrite yours.
Oh, okay.
So like, it just got simpler too, like right now, in order to have a village designation, that has to be a boundary, has to be on a map in your plan, we don't have that anymore. So we'll be able to adjust the boundary, make it a little bigger, include some more area, and do some stuff without having to do anything locally.
Good. Anything else to Catherine? Thank you very much for
Well,
being
I
by.
thank you, it was lovely seeing you.
Congratulations on 30 years,
can't
original
believe it.
plan. Where did the time go?
I don't know, I really don't. I feel like it's been just a second.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your meeting.
All right, thank you. All right, excuse me, on to item 6, expenditures. We have the orders dated 11/20/24 to 12/17/24. So as we've been doing recently, we can suspend the date in each one of these. General orders, want to change a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the general orders in the amount of $193,420.21.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? There's a lot of checks cut here. Busy, huh?
I just have a question.
Sure.
We have, as you just said, Mr. Chair, a lot of checks cut. Is it possible that these might be available to us a little earlier than the meeting? I'm probably not gonna have any questions, but we haven't had a chance to look these over except in the 30, 40 seconds that we have here.
She did email them out to us earlier.
Yeah, that would be good. It just would give us a chance to take a peek at them.
Well, she did, or emailed them to us earlier. I've already looked at them.
I didn't
Oh.
get them. Oh, anyway, never mind.
Did you
Well,
email
no,
them
We'll
today?
take a look at that and make
What
sure,
time?
Yeah.
because it is a lot to look through here in a short time.
Okay, cause I checked that
Because I
one,
scanned them this morning.
because my thing is coming up different now. It's coming up, but it's not the way it used to be. Okay, so I checked at 1 o'clock. Did you check, send it after?
Yeah,
Okay, alright. A lot of tax refunds, eh? Are all the appropriations paid now?
Yes.
And you still got money in the checking account?
Yeah, that's a good
That's what those special funds help with. Pat it a little bit. All right, enough time, or you want more time, folks? That's a lot of them, and we can take more time. Not trying to rush anybody. Nicole, you're good.
I am. Thank
Okay.
you.
If you have any folks, just let me know, each one of you, that way we're not sitting here waiting and thinking everybody's still looking.
I'm good on my end.
Okay.
Gotta negotiate that Comcast bill though. They're in the cancel.
Motion been made.
Motion's been made and seconded, just waiting, if there's any more discussion, people are flipping through, you all set, or on the
Yeah.
general?
Yeah.
Okay, waiting, I'm good. You good, Steve? Okay, all those in favor state aye.
Alright,
Aye, opposed, so moved. Highway, entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the highway orders in the amount of $57,451.56.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded.
I know I joked about Comcast, but is there a reason you don't do it from a top level of just a uniform contract across all properties instead of separating it out on each?
Question I don't have an answer to.
What was the question?
I was just wondering, I'm noticing on the general orders and the highway orders here, we have Comcast on each, and I just didn't know why we don't do like a group contract instead of
Well, the,
individual.
well, that's a good question. All the lines we have in here and all the phones are on one bill, one location.
Yeah,
And then we have the highways on one location. They just always done it that way.
we're separated out.
And then the depot is also on there, the Highgate, the historical building.
I think, if I may, you'd have to separate the highway anyways, right? 'Cause
Right.
this building comes out of the general fund, the
Right.
highway comes out of the highway fund. So it depends who's paying the taxes.
Right, but I think what you're trying to
But
see
I-
is whether we
like
could
say
get a
a
reduced
contract.
rate, then we would just have to
Yeah.
internally split the
Yeah.
up and charge each separately,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that would be, I think what you're.
Yeah, that's what I was,
that's.
because I just know how they are with their like admin fees and everything,
Yeah.
just running the bill itself is
Right.
like another
Yeah.
$5, so.
Is that something that Peter handles or?
No, no, we do it.
We do it? Cause I see does telecommunications. I didn't know.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Okay, we can check with him, that's for sure.
I'm assuming on that de-icer, they brought 3 different loads on the same day? Or they
Yes.
just billed it all the same?
No, they came with 3 loads.
And-
Basically truckloads of salt, right?
Yeah.
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 You good, Nicole?
Yep.
Earl?
Yep.
Steve? All those in favor state aye. Excuse me, aye. Opposed? So moved. Library, entertain a motion to approve the library, the library orders.
So moved. I make a motion to approve the library orders in the amount of $1,326.19.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I'm not trying to just be funny, but $150 to unplug a toilet?
It was at the library. I mean, they made the call and he was, I think it was at the library.
Yeah, when was it?
That was,
It was actually it was actually last fall
Yeah.
and he just billed us this just recently.
Oh, that's when they had trouble with that
Yeah,
toilet.
with that
out there.
toilet.
It's terrible.
yeah, there's a little more to it than just,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what
But
I
it's-
assumed
That
it was
was
just
the
a
assumption.
top
Yeah.
line item, that
Yeah.
there's more details, not that we had to get into it,
Any further discussion on that?
but, sorry.
That one? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Highway and general payroll, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move,
I'll second.
For the amount, someone wanna state the amount?
the amount of, $44,984.24.
Okay, seconded by Nicole. Any discussion? Good, Earl?
Yep, good.
All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Library payroll, entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the library payroll of $9,262.61.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Special funds, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the special orders of $1,932.79.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? And just for the record, my name is on there. couple pieces for the gutters that couldn't get locally. Picked them up at Home Depot and brought a receipt in to Kathy for those items. And the other item there is we bought the remaining material to do the site in next spring. Half of it's done, and this is the other. We wanted to get the material just in case color change or something. So that's what those two are. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you, folks. Highway Department, I'll keep this fairly short. We got a lot of business to do tonight. All the vehicles are in what I call a code 1 status and operational. They did a little bit of plowing over the weekend. We got that one little bit of snow, just enough to make things a little slippery. They hauled all their sand. They were down actually at Rec, putting in that drainage that we talked about. That's gonna be a big improvement there. Earl had a question about Sholin Road. I think it's a little bit early, but something for us to be thinking about. I did look up what needs to be done. And there's a lot of people we have to notify within the state that we're closing it in case they have some interest in it. We have to warn it for so many days. Items like that, and we have to make sure that it's not on our certified mileage, that distance. That was another thing, they talked about the year that we're looking to close it, it needs to come off that. I don't know what time of year we actually certify roads, but that's something we need to think about if we're trying to do it in 2025. But basically, it's notifying a lot of people, having a public hearing, waiting so many days, and then the final approval.
Do you have to get any legal documents with the state for the new portion of the road?
That's the thing we've got to look at, and I suggest while all that construction's going on out there, we let that road be driven on for a while before we take a look at it and inspect it, because it's gonna get a lot of heavy traffic for a while.
Christina and I took a side trip out there yesterday and actually drove up the road and drove into the garage. It is being used. They're using the garage. There's trucks parked in there, and they're using the salt shed. So it's in use. And of course, the contractor's building the office part of it. But there's a lot of truck traffic going on there. Which,
There will be.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of heavy trucks
Yeah.
the whole time, but something we wanna think about when we take it over, we're gonna end up owning it and repairing it, and it'd be good to let them use it for a while and see how it holds up. But anyway, this is right out of the state statute.
I think they took the responsibility for maintaining it.
Yeah, until we
We
just,
have no responsibility at all for that.
unless we take the road over and
Unless we take it over.
reclassify it to class 3, it's still gonna be a class 4 road. That was what we had talked
Oh, it is
about.
gonna be a class 4.
Okay, I wasn't privy to any of that, so
Yeah.
we're talking about, well, you say legal documents, so we're taking it over or we're not?
It's gonna belong to the town, when the town opts. Basically, if we need to use that road, if there's further development, there's a reason for the town to take over that road, then we will take it over.
Okay,
Until said time, they're responsible for all the maintenance and plowing and everything, because it's still gonna be classified a class 4 road.
okay,
Cause we didn't wanna invest any money in it because there's no tax base on that.
yeah, no, that's good, you guys set it up good. Okay, anything else, highway, any questions? Old Town Business, update on 4th Street property. We talked about, you want me to cover
Yeah,
this?
go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm sure you'd be glad to let me know. We talked about additional testing, it's taken a while to get the proposal from them, but you can see it's a lot of work in just getting a proposal prepared. So that's what the 4th Street property update is, a proposal from Atlas Engineering. 3 main issues on that property are the PAHs, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, vanadium, and lead. Showed you folks the ball field proposal that we were looking at a few years ago, and that's what they centered this testing on. So I called up and talked to them. I said, what if we put a building there? Would it change the amount of tested? And they said no. So really, they feel that this is the amount of work that needs to be done to start the next step. They need this information so they can come up with an effectiveness of corrective actions plan, which has to go and get approved from the state after all these samples come back. And then they have to write a corrective action plan and get that approved by the state, which would be the final document that says what we're gonna do there. How much material are we gonna remove? How much are we gonna cap? If we had to put in wells and treat, which the type of contaminants they're talking about, that is probably not the case. So besides the fact that there's a pretty hefty price here, total of $30,616.95. There's one item on here I think they are quite steep on, and that is the site mark out private utility locating. Part of that vanadium issue is the background levels might be high, and it might not be a issue caused by having the garage there. So they're gonna go sample other locations and see if the background level's high. What I find intriguing is if the levels, background levels are about what they are on that property, we don't have to do the cleanup. But if it was something that was spilled there and it's at the level that it is right now, you have to do the cleanup. Which to me, if it's a health issue, it shouldn't matter, but that's,
Who does the cleanup then if we don't have to?
if it wasn't a spill and the background is high, then you don't have to do anything. You can use it as is. Then you don't have to deal with the lead and the P.E.G situation. So this 30,000 is to really determine the depths and the horizontal area of where these contaminations are. So you got the 30,000, and you got probably another 11,000 between the effectiveness of corrective actions and the corrective action plan. So you're talking $40,000 to $50,000 before we get approval to do the cleanup. And it could be it could be removing material. One of the things they said for the vanadium, if you were gonna put ball fields there, you could raise 18 inches, put 18 inches cap on it, which that changes some dynamics there, so I don't think that's what you wanna do, but that's what you come up with after you get the extent of this testing. I don't know what we wanna do, but that property is not gonna be able to be used until we move forward, and to me, this is one that is a possibility for special funds. And I'll stop at that and.
Do they have a completion, an estimate of completion in this? I just got this, like,
Estimation of
when
completion,
they can get, they'll finish their study for
this,
$41,000.
the first part, the 30,000, is something if they can get out there before the ground freezes up, which would be a fairly quick turnaround. I don't know if we get them there in the next couple of weeks. They could have that information back to us early spring, and then we'd have to go back and have them figure out the next two steps and come back with another proposal. Won't be quite as detailed, I don't think, because he told me the second item is around $3,500. That's not a definitive number, but he said we've done several of these. The next step after this is about 3,500, and the one after that's about 7,500. That's more writing up stuff, I think, and sending it to the state, because they'll have the sampling completed.
I was just curious as to when we might be able to start using it.
Well, with any luck,
Years
it would be, this would be completed in 2025, if we can get this sampling done right now. That's why we were, after Brian and I talked to him, we wanted him to get this proposal, but you can see how detailed it is to even get it. So we could have got this approved last meeting, or the meeting before, so we could definitely get samples taken now.
I'd be interested, I know that you called it out, the underground locating services, where it says it's up to 3 times, and that's the vast majority of at least the number 2 there, site mark out, private utility locating. They're putting $4,500 as that, but it's $1,500 a day. So it's how many times do they have to come back up? And I'm also noticing if I look through this estimate here, that they're adding in quite a bit of mileage to come back multiple times, it appears. So I'm just wondering from that perspective, we're gonna do this ground level of, if they can scan that all once to get the background, does that mean we don't have to do the underground additional surveillance? Like, is there that tier approach almost of, let's do that background, you know, whatever that would be first, great, that's gonna cost X. Then if we have to do further analysis of, yeah, it's not just the background, it's this site in particular that's really bad. The background for everywhere else is a lower level or whatever it might be for that reading. Then we have to do this additional sampling that's deeper cores.
This includes all the sampling that they plan to do for this phase of it.
Okay.
So what they will, as part of that, they're gonna do sampling on 4th Street, and it shows where they're gonna sample. They're also gonna do some other properties, mostly in our right-of-ways and so on, so they can get to it without having to do a lot of this private utility located. And this is one where they bill based on the services, this is kind of what I would say what they estimate is the total project, and I am definitely gonna talk to them about private utility locating, because most of it is stuff that the village does, marking their own utilities within inside the village, and Vermont Gas and so on, so it shouldn't be a real huge private utility location issue.
You said we'd be using special funds.
That's my recommendation. We're gonna talk about special funds later, and we can save that discussion till then.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know what's in there.
If you want, we can do that, we can talk about that, or we can say, you know, people want time to read this and,
Well, we
prove it
don't,
next meeting, but.
we don't really have any options. We gotta do this work if we're gonna reuse that property.
Yes, sir,
That's all.
that's,
How are we gonna fund it?
right, and,
That's basically what's left.
yeah, and this is, yes. All right, we'll move on to the next one, we'll talk about funding and the special
Yeah.
funds discussion, if that works for everybody.
Yep.
Okay, update on boundary adjustment on 1st Street.
I have spoken to Brian Monahan on that. They're working on it, but it's his paralegals that are working on it. And he's gonna be getting back to me within a couple of weeks, and that was a week ago. I spoke with him. I'll be speaking to him again, probably tomorrow or Thursday of this week, and find out what the status is. His understanding was there was a little break in communication between the other parties, one of the other parties, so, but he's aware that we wanna get done and taken care of, so they're working.
Okay. Newtown business. Proposed 2025 budget presentations. Siskiyou Valley Rescue. So it looks like that's on page 9, folks.
Hey there, thanks for being here.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, your show.
Hey, Joshua.
No, my show. So I guess the short of it, we obviously have an increase of about $30,000 over last year. The biggest ticket items on there is going to be payroll, bay rent, and utilities, and dispatching. The payroll, unfortunately, we don't get to benefit much from it, but there's a new child care contribution tax that starts in July, unemployment tax that starts in January. And we've added a 6th full-time employee due to an increase in call volume. This year we're going to hit over 1,800 calls. We're probably going to hit that number in the next couple days. Our bay rent went up 53.8% over last year. And it's due to go up again next year. And that is out of our hands.
Dispatch, I think you said.
Yeah, that went up roughly $6,000.
Where's that on there?
So it's
It's on
Oh, here it is.
Will you folks use the central
I think it was
dispatching
central
out of St.
too.
Albans as well?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, cause I know, I'm hearing the police and there's gonna be a pretty significant increase in their dispatch.
And we have shopped around. Unfortunately, we didn't get a call back until around 5 o'clock this evening from Middlebury because we were kind of looking at them again, looking at Shelburne, just kind of seeing what's out there. But our contract with St. Albans will have to be renewed by July 1st or whatever we decide to do. But this budget does include the St. Albans brace.
So you're looking for 38,000, almost 39,000 increase from the two communities. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That let me see here. 30 on community support. Yes, yeah, that's split up between both communities.
And I know you got a sizable increase in your billing, well over $100,000 over what you had budgeted.
Yep. So that top part, the receipts. That's good. That's in the
That's good.
positive. That's
Yeah,
money
I know,
coming-
that's good,
Yeah.
but what is it? Just because you had
So-
more calls, or you got doing different kind of calls?
So there was an increase in Medicare rates last July, and then there's also increase in call line. Yeah.
So, when I look here, what is the dollar figure you're looking for from Swanton? I see 259,
That's
490.
it. Yes.
And I may be mistaken. I thought I saw last year at 199, 245.
Nope. 220. It should have been 229, 761 or 220. The year before was one.
Yes, you are correct.
This is
229.
229, and this was,
The
year before was 190, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So what's the increase over last year?
About roughly 30,000.
30,000? That brought it up to the 260 or whatever.
Yeah, the 259, 490. Yep.
So percentage. You
That's
have
right
that?
around-
That's what I'm going to
I
calculate.
was gonna say I think it's around 12.
All right, folks. Any questions?
What did it come out to be?
12.94.
I'm getting there right. Someone already said it.
Josh did. What's the percentage?
I believe it.
12.94.
Yep.
All right, that's what I got. Much better to have the right figure. I found that 199 and said, okay.
And your payroll is, you have one more employee now.
Yeah, so one additional full-time employee, so we're now at 6, and again, our call volume is increasing. We've actually been running all 3 of our trucks more frequently now. So that covers that backup pay rate for that third truck too, and then also an additional full-time employee. And unfortunately, those increases on the unemployment tax and childcare contribution tax, which are out of our hands.
Did you do a percentage increase for your employees?
It's 2%.
2%.
Yeah.
How is it overall with staffing?
We have had an influx of employees, thankfully, and got another medic on board. So we're actually fairly well staffed.
Yeah.
they
That's
say
good.
you guys are offering some community trainings or trainings in general,
Absolutely.
which is great.
Yep.
Yep.
Actually, we have our paramedic is actually an instructor coordinator. So we are now going to be holding EMT classes right here locally, more CPR classes, and that's also a way to bring in revenue too.
Yep.
So.
Also, Joel is our paramedic, Mike Roberge, you've met him. He's going to be reaching out to the town. We've already reached out to the fire department and the village for CPR classes. I know that back when I was on the board, we used to have David St. Pierre come and visit classes for all our employees. And so that's all still out there now, and it's actually more advanced than it was back then.
He's also doing classes up at the school.
Is that open to the public?
Okay.
And so you got nothing budgeted in there, just 2,500 for the new station.
That's just to cover taxes right now. Again, we don't have any plans. We want to try to find grant funding before we really make a plan there. So, see if there's anything available. We do not yet. No.
We have a committee.
We have a building committee.
Alright, well, good luck with all that.
Yeah.
So, from board's discussion here, just a second, Earl.
Yep.
We're gonna take this information tonight, or we asking MBR to come back, or if there's gonna be no changes to this here and no other questions, we'll let her, you talk in a second, but
Yep.
we had that discussion of whether we were gonna say this is good to go tonight or not.
I'd like to have a chance to read it.
Okay.
Digest it, read it. Good. Not much to it, I mean, it's pretty brief, but
All right, now,
Professional services.
That includes dispatching, attorney's fees,
Oh, that's a
Here's the
okay, all right.
and billing fees.
wasn't there a big jump in that last year or the year before?
Yes, there was, unfortunately.
Yep.
Nicole, any other questions?
Nope, I'm all set.
All right,
Just real quick.
Yep.
See, the past years, maintenance and janitorial is above 25,000,
Mhm.
25 and then 37.
Yep.
But we're down to 18 for this coming year.
Yep, so a lot of that included vehicle maintenance, which has been a huge thing with our third truck. However, we put a lot into it, and it's starting to look a lot better.
Awesome. Okay.
So yeah,
Okay,
that's
just wanted to make
we've
sure I
been over the
understood.
last we
Yeah.
have. Also, there's been some equipment maintenance that's rolled into there as well. Like that covers our gurneys, and unfortunately, anything medical is super expensive. But everything is looking good as far as equipment wise. Everything's up to snuff and looking good.
Okay, anything else for MBI? Thank you very much.
Joel, real quick though, during our budget process at our board meetings, we really crunched these numbers and other than unexpected increases in rent, and the insurances or taxes on what Josh is saying, the childcare and all that stuff. These are, I know Steve said he'd like to look at it and you guys might have questions to come back, but this is we wanted to be as level funded as we could. And these numbers are pretty much bottom line. I mean, it's crazy out there in the EMS, fire, police, we're what really, I don't wanna use the wrong terms here on camera, but, when we get unexpected increases like we did, that affects our community. It doesn't really affect us. All we do is put the numbers down and run our business, and then we have to have voter approval to do it. So some of these unexpected things, it's really hurting when we're trying to keep our prices down as much as we can. So I'm glad we're on camera tonight because the community needs to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the stuff you can't control.
Right.
You gotta pass it on. You can go out of business. I mean,
Yep.
and it's tough. This dispatching, I don't understand year after year how we can have such large increases.
I understand, but I can't say right now.
Okay. All right. So, thank you very much.
That's one thing, you guys do a really, really good job. I mean, I know it's expensive and we have a lot of questions, but you do a good job taking care of the community.
We try. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Swanton Public Library. Becky and Abby, how we doing?
Okay, and you?
Doing well, thank you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
If you get them whites out there on them bushes,
My lights?
that blink.
Oh,
yeah,
I've been
the-
trying to reset them and they keep
my
going
God.
back and they're driving me nuts.
That,
I can't wait to
that
unplug
blank
them.
is pretty wild.
It's insane.
Of course.
That's entertaining at 4 in the morning.
Christmas is like next week, but I do have some for out front if you want.
The park
Yeah,
is
sure.
gorgeous.
Putting them up somewhere.
So nice.
I just haven't had
time to think about it. I did it inside, I didn't have time to
I like that little tunnel.
Oh, I like the tunnel.
Yeah.
I like the street lamp poles. Looks beautiful.
You hold a wedding in there.
Quick, a very quick one.
Oh, that's a lot, yeah.
All right, your nickel.
Okay, well, we're up $10,000 from last year. Most of it is because things have increased in price. One big jump on our budget is bookkeeping, which we're asking our bookkeeper to do a lot more than the bookkeeper was doing originally, because we're sending quarterly reports to you guys. And also the initial price, she hadn't been with us full time
Right.
last year.
And we had talked about the increase last year, but it didn't get put onto the budget last year, so
So, yeah, it
did
looks,
this year.
it
Was it
looks
the same
worse than
person?
it
It's
is.
the same person.
Yeah,
Same bookkeeper.
yep.
So what's your balance? Your checkbook balance,
What is it now? It's about 20 something?
20 something, okay. That's an improvement. I mean, over last year, you know, you didn't really have those numbers quickly available. So that bookkeeper apparently is doing
She's doing a good job.
a good job. You got nothing in here for revenue, but that's,
Well,
We do that every year. We leave because it's all soft money. We don't know what we're gonna take in. So
hopefully something.
How much did you get last year? The total looking at something?
the total,
Your revenue?
yes, it's
58.8. We had a lot of grants last year though.
wait a minute, year-to-date.
No, the 58.8 was 2023.
Yeah,
Year to date for 2024, you have 37.5.
5.
for
Six.
this year, yeah.
Where's that number? I'm gonna-
It's on the second page. Revenues are start.
Okay, thanks.
Alright.
As you look for money, what are you finding out there? Is it drying up or?
there's a few of the same small grants that are pretty much always available, but a lot of the big ones there doesn't seem to be as many.
They're very targeted, which is one problem for us with the grants. You know, we can get grants for reading programs, we can get grants for, the one we're trying for right now is to get an automatic door opener for the front door and the inner door on the library, so that people who are handicapped, women with, you know, babies and strollers can get through that door. But we haven't heard about that one yet.
We've run into a lot of, because we're a municipal library, not a 501c3, we're ineligible for a lot of grants that are out there for libraries, but not for municipal libraries.
Yeah, we don't do so badly
Can we change that?
though.
What we
If we can put it on the budget.
No, I'm just curious.
No, I mean,
to
we
become a
Thank you.
501c3,
we'd really need a
No.
friends group.
We can't.
we need a friends
We
group.
need a friends group to have that kind of option.
We can't.
Separate
We can't.
501c3
Right.
that supports you, yeah.
Correct,
Right, and a
yes.
lot of public libraries do have that, have
Yeah.
a
Mhm.
very active friends group.
All right, I got a question, and it's really the next part of the budget, payroll and building, but the windows, we're trying to weatherproof. The old windows in the original building, do you need to be able to open them? Is there any time in the year, cause you have air
The
conditioning?
upstairs ones we open in the spring before we turn the. I try and wait before I turn the AC on for as long as possible. We do open the upstairs, and sometimes in the winter it gets hot, and we turn the heat way down, but we also open the windows sometimes in the winter because that's where all of our exercise, like our old,
Phone builders.
phone builders and our Zumba and their square dancing up there, like all of the movement stuff is happening up in that upstairs room, and they get hot in there.
We don't have a lot of option to fool around with those windows though, because that's a historic part of the building, and the grant that we got to repair the windows was through the historic preservation people.
No, I understand, this would be simply pinning them so they don't go up and
Pinning 'em.
down. Right now, one of the contractors that took a look at it is talking about having to do some repairs to the mechanisms and that.
Oh, yeah.
and so if we go through all that, and it's not necessary because we're not opening them, so I'm just asking that, not to try to sidetrack from here.
The
but-
first floor, a lot less necessary. The second floor, they absolutely open them quite frequently, I would say.
Okay, and what if it was just a couple of them we left up there that would open and the rest we've been them shut?
Well, we could do, have one open on each side and get some flow through there.
Yeah, we usually open the ones right in the front. We don't usually use the ones on the side. It's
Alright,
usually just the ones right in the front.
We'll follow up with you more on that,
Okay.
but that's something that came up that,
Yeah.
okay.
What's a GMLC?
It's the online consortium that does all of our audiobooks and ebooks and
Okay, I'm just seeing it as 1,500 for the budget for 2024 and 2,660.
they had a huge
They
increase this
boost,
year.
yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure because the percent changes as 0.
Yes, I
So I
didn't
just-
change it. That's me.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
I just wanted to make sure. I didn't know if that was if it was actually changing or staying the
It
same.
is actually
No,
changing.
that came in at the last minute,
Okay.
so.
Okay,
And we don't have a schedule yet for the real big job on the library, right?
no,
Oh, yeah.
and we're gonna need to, right after the new year, start looking for the other contractors to make that happen, cause we've got the guy who's gonna do the installation, but we've gotta get the HVAC contractor.
The plan was April or May, sometime before the weather went from one extreme to the
That's right.
other, because I have to shut things down, so.
Right.
You're
Yeah,
aware.
that would be good.
Yeah.
Yep.
And hopefully that'll reduce some of your operating costs in the future.
I would think.
So, we talked about the first part of the budget, and the second is the building and payroll.
What's your percentage increase in salaries this year?
4. We're following the town.
4, but then we did add on 2 summer camp employees, which we hope we can get. Because the camps were really very, very well attended, and it's high pressure over
You
the
hold
summer.
over like the library building?
Mm-hmm.
How does that differ from what you do, Nicole?
Just additional services. One of the things that's great about the camps that Abby provides, they're more theme specific. So I think it appeals to a different niche of kids. But hers are also grant funded, so she's able to provide programming at a free level, where we still have overhead in staffing and just general overhead that we charge for. But ours is more open space outside, where hers are more inside, readers theater,
History camp.
history
Theater,
camp.
art, history,
Art.
this type of things.
Ours is more active, and we take walking field trips, and we're all over the place.
But some of our grants are really predicated on the idea that it's gonna be free to the community.
No, sure.
Yeah, our biggest grant stipulates that our summer camps have to be free to the community and that the grant money can't be used towards salaries. So it only funds the operating costs of,
So is that why the proposed 2025 is 0 for camps? Because that will be funded through
yes,
grants. Okay.
yes.
So the big thing on the payroll is medical, health insurance.
That would be a Kathy question.
Yeah,
Well, it jumped up 208%. They're kind of the
Okay, so
combination
you're
of the
back
two.
on, okay.
That's what I was saying, right?
But I'm gonna have to adjust
Where are
the
you seeing that?
payroll by
Next.
$7,200 because I didn't have
Oh,
that.
sorry.
When I looked at this, there was $7,200 for this camp. So I'm
yeah.
gonna have to add that $7,200 onto this budget and salaries.
How come this was crossed out?
Cause that doesn't.
Because
go
it's
in
part of
that
our budget.
It's
Okay,
part of this.
gotcha.
this other budget.
So when I'm looking down through here, you got year to date. Your year to date, a lot of these numbers are over what was in the budget.
Yeah, that's
So this
stuff
is-
that we fund.
This is where this money comes, this soft money as you call it.
Yes.
Yep.
That's a lot of the overages is stuff we fund through the trust. Or grants or
Or like the printer, we
Donations.
fund through the copier money.
right.
Is there a large fluctuation each year of the soft money, as you called it, that's coming in?
There can be,
Yeah.
you know, especially in terms of grants, that can go way up and
The
down,
grant one is super.
Okay.
depending.
But the trust
That's
money
a
is pretty consistent though, isn't it?
Reasonably,
It's a paid,
It's-
interest paid out?
It's an interest paid out, yeah, and it's fairly consistent. I wouldn't say it's one. There was definitely it was a
Yeah.
decrease this year from what we normally get, but not a huge one.
And when you put the report in the town report, it'll show all the expenses and it'll include that money too, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
So that's considered more of like a discretionary fund then for the rest of this besides the grants, which I'm assuming has the rules that you guys outlined and that kind of stuff.
Well, some of the trust fund also has rules to follow as
yeah,
well.
it's, we have we have two trusts,
Okay.
and one of them is fairly restrictive. It's like books and programs.
Oh, wow,
In
okay.
2023,
So.
because we made a state, they have it this year.
All right. Any more on that first part of the library? Move over to the second one. I was trying to do the two together, but they are intertwined as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So the big increase is obviously the health insurance, somewhat taken on someone who may not have got it before.
Right.
So how many full-time employees do we,
Two.
and that both insured now, or? In part-time, they don't get it?
No.
Okay.
No.
So it's not like next year someone else,
No,
it's the
no.
two.
No.
That'll be
No,
Now both full-time employees are on the health, so next year we won't see that big increase, I guess is what
no,
I'm asking.
that's it.
hopefully a decrease.
Health insurance, there won't be any decrease.
No.
I'm hoping to get back on my husband's.
Oh.
So
32% increase that really catches my eye here, and I understand a lot of these things are beyond your control. That's an awful jump.
Well,
I mean, it really is, I mean, everybody.
Unfortunately, it's a small
that one we don't have.
Oh,
number
no,
they're
no,
working
no,
with,
no,
and
no.
that, just the medical picks it up.
But also in the building maintenance went up so much because the compressor has to be replaced at $3,760 under building maintenance, and the sprinkler system needs to be replaced for $6,590. So the building maintenance went up considerably because those two items have to be taken care of this coming year.
So it went from 10 to 20,000.
Right.
And it's down here, the cost of the
Yeah.
compressor, and it's
Yeah.
it's added in that maintenance item.
That's what
Yeah,
we're-
that hurts.
Okay, I gotta ask you this question. This operating budget, we're at 300,000, we're gonna add the other 80 on it, so 380,000. How does that compare to other towns our size library operating budgets? Have you ever?
I don't
You
know
don't
off
know?
the top of my
I
head.
don't either, but I can tell you that they are all over the place because Vermont has some teeny weeny little libraries that are on a shoestring, and then it has Burlington, which is really lush. So we're not high compared to other libraries.
Especially other libraries our size. We have a huge building compared to most libraries in
Yeah,
Vermont. We have a huge staff compared to most libraries in Vermont. Most libraries in Vermont are operating on a one-person staff, which is just not possible for us due to
Well,
our size and our program
and
level.
and the hours.
And
you know-
yes, and we're open way more hours than most libraries as well.
Weren't we one of the larger ones in the state?
We are one of the bigger
Like number
libraries
3
in
or
the
4
state.
or something, or-
Well, I wouldn't put us at 3 or 4,
No,
but we're
I don't-
definitely in the top.
okay.
Top
yeah,
percentage,
I understand that somewhere. Okay.
I can think of 5 off the top of my head that are bigger than us, but
Okay, all right.
we are a bigger
I
library.
love reading about your events.
Thank you.
You do a lot.
We do a lot.
You really do.
Got a lot going on.
questions, I mean,
I'm all set.
think we got our questions answered.
Yeah.
And we'll,
That's it?
well, there may be more questions between now and our January meeting, but I mean, when I look at this, a lot of the stuff on the second budget, you can't do much about it.
Same with the
And when you
first,
go to
right?
when you go to the other budget, if you start cutting things there, you're cutting programs.
Basically, yeah.
And as everyone has been talking, you know, there's a lot of interaction with the community that happens through the library, and I'm gonna say with the rec, our next budget we're gonna talk about, and that's what starts a lot of our kids off in the right direction. So I don't know, it's, yeah, I see 32%, that gets, you know, the blood going a little bit, and then I look at how small the budget is to begin with, and when you just add those two line items, pretty much, it makes that big jump. And that's our job and your job to sell that to the public, that's why the increase they're gonna see if they start asking questions.
Yeah, $35,000 a year for an individual. Well, that's a family plan, right? That's
It's a lot of money.
unbelievable.
I think one thing that would be beneficial for me is just with the visibility of understanding the revenue in the back here, but just understanding how that correlates to what programs are pulled from that. Because otherwise, right, if we didn't have that soft money pulling in, you guys would still have to run with you know, if you want to continue the programs like you spoke to. If you're doing all of these programs, that money has to come from somewhere, right? So
I mean,
really
a huge one is summer camp. Like that
Yeah.
summer camp costs us like $5,000 a year, and that's would be gone if we
Yeah.
didn't have the soft money. That's
Well,
a huge.
and our book budget.
and our
Like,
books,
you know,
yeah.
we take a big chunk to boost the book budget that we
Okay.
ask from the town.
Yeah.
just to the sake of saying it's
Yeah.
300,000, but it's 300,000 after you guys are able to use those funds. Otherwise, that would be added on, right? If you want to
Right.
continue those programs,
Right.
So it'd be even higher otherwise.
Right. We do really try and find any other revenue to pull it down for what we're asking the taxpayers.
Okay.
Yep.
We got 2 weeks to mull it over, and
Question for me?
How about the budget though? I better ask you.
Okay. You know where to find me, Earl.
Yeah.
the flashing lights at 4 in the morning.
That's true.
Oh, geez.
I really have been trying to reset them for weeks.
No, let him go. You know.
Oh, they drive me. They
No.
don't flash at the same time. They drive me
I
nuts.
know.
No, they're awful.
Weird. I gotta look at them and figure out what's
They're
going on.
epileptic.
They are. They're so bad.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Joe, would you recommend that he, maybe to centralize this, on any of these budgets, if we have questions from them in through Brian?
I think that would be the proper thing to do, because if we don't get any questions on a certain budget, then why invite people in here?
Yeah, so we'll just funnel anything right to your attention, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we should set a date, because, you know, if someone has a question, gives it to him the day of, then it's too late then, so. Oh, what do we got here for January? First meeting is,
Yeah, they're
Can't
on
believe it's
order.
January 7th.
7.
first meeting's the
No,
7th.
9.
9,
No, is that,
No,
is that in
That's-
January, right?
yeah, but
January.
you're, I think you're looking at 2024 still.
I think it's the 7th.
7th. Yeah, it's gonna be, I don't know, January 7th. 7th, it's the first Tuesday.
Yeah, okay, cause the 31st there, so I would say
I'd say
the 3rd, the Friday the 3rd.
Yeah.
If there's questions on the budget, get them to Brian by the 3rd, and that
Yeah.
way we'll either invite them back, or we'll just say we're good to go with the budget, because there were no questions.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair, isn't it? Swanton Rec. Good evening.
And I handed everybody out a separate budget. This is the
Hi, Brendan.
actual.
I'm Betsy Fournier. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the board.
Thank you.
This one's more good than you.
No, there, I made a typo. Okay, so where's the typo? You wanna see it? I'm not gonna hunt for it, 'cause I'm not.
We just got this one, is this,
It's the packet.
it's the same as this one?
No, there was a typo with the one in your select board
Okay,
packet,
This is
so,
the one we usually,
yes, sir.
all right.
word typo or a huge number typo?
It was a number typo.
Oh, okay.
I just, here, I had a previous and I didn't align it correctly, so.
Oh, not in the town appropriations, though.
No, the front cover page is right, I just didn't carry the number correctly into the revenue side portion, but I fixed it. And you can see the difference.
Okay, super. Well, good evening, everybody. So I'm Betsy Fournier, I'm the chair of the board, and thanks for having me here tonight. I would just like to start off to say thank you to the town of Swanton, mostly Joel Clark, for putting the siding on our building. It's made a huge improvement to the space, and there's additional 2 windows in the garage, so that was a huge asset for our events that we host in there, just so people can actually see outside and don't feel like they're like in a little dungeon. So that made a huge difference. That will be finished in the spring. So that was greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. We've had a great year. I think we just continue to grow every year. Our community has been a great supporter. We've had a influx of coaches that are willing to step up and help out. So that makes Nick, our athletic director's job easier. And just offering more additional programming. The football program has taken off, the field hockey program, and we're, just to have that feeder program for our local high schools is really ideal. Programming wise, of course, Nicole is our executive director. She's also a select board member, but she does a great job kind of keeping everything rolling at the rec department when I can't be there. So between her and Nick, it's kind of a godsend that I have her because I don't know what I would do without them. Because all our board works full time, so it's just nice to have people there that we know they're running things smoothly and everything's going well. We've had summer camps. We've had a huge increase in our teens. We really have a lot of teens that show up every day. They want to be there even when they don't have to be there. They have written grants for funding for, what was it,
They started a youth paranormal investigators
Yeah,
group.
that was
There's going to
cool.
be an RC car club coming into play. They wrote a grant for a youth empowerment summit this year that provided a space for 45 young people to safely recreate and celebrate the beginning of the school year. They funded photography clubs, Dungeons and Dragons clubs. They've added to our rec library of things such as disc golf and yard games and
pizza oven.
Pizza oven.
So they've just done a lot of great things in the community, and it's nice to see our teens like getting more engaged because we want them to stay here and be part of our community after graduation, or come back and be part of our community. So it's nice to see that happening. So a lot of great things happening in our little rec department. So budget wise, we do have an increase this year, like everybody else. As I heard the rescue and then the library, it's kind of across the board. So last year, I think we asked for I'm gonna round it, like $150,000. We had a surplus that we've had for years, and we don't have that surplus coming into 2025. I think it may be 8,000 to 6,000. 6,000's more what we're looking for. That we're gonna see. So not a huge surplus. We've really spent down our money this year.
How much are you reserved for?
In our reserve fund, it's about 60,000.
60.
Yeah. Yep. So we did see a huge increase in the health insurance. It was actually kind of scary when I saw the number. I'm like, is this accurate? I think it was $39,000. So we didn't have, and the reason for that is we just had one employee on our health insurance, but we also have 2 full-time employees. So if at any time our full-time employees want health insurance, we have to make sure the money's available for them. So instead of not having the money, we budget it in case that happens. So we have 2 full-time employees, Nicole and Nick, and we have part-time field maintenance, and then we have numerous summer camp employees, probably sometimes
employ our
5 to
teens,
6,
yeah.
and our teens, and then our food booth. So, but those are just seasonal employees. So that's where our biggest increase is the health insurance. We did have to purchase a new tractor this year, but that tractor was 2011, so we got a lot of hours out of that tractor. Well, lawnmower, I should say. And then we are going to try to fill a part-time position in the spring, just to kind of offset the time to alleviate some time for Nick and Nicole in the evenings or on the weekends, because our programs require a lot of evenings and weekends. So just to kind of fill in and also do some additional programming. That way Nicole doesn't have to do all the programming and Nick doesn't have to do all the programming, because we have so many programs. We want to make sure that we're offering what the community needs. And if they want more, we want to make sure we have the appropriate staff there to give that to our community.
That's why the rec salary budget is up like 17,000, is because of that additional employee you plan on bringing in then.
Yes.
Plus the 4% increase. I would say.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. You got it, Earl.
So you got a new lawnmower and I see new tractor on here for 2025?
Well, that we're just
Or is that,
that's the same thing. We already got it, so we're paying for it. It's only like, I think we pay $160 a month for it. It's like a 1.9%
We're financing.
financing
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So that was a capital improvement.
Yeah, it was a capital improvement, not out of our money market account, out of our regular fund, but is an improvement.
What you did sounds like a great, but do you have authorization to go into debt without any approval? Do you have to come to the select board to go into debt?
Never have. No.
So you could borrow an enormous amount of money if you wanted to, and we would have no control over it.
I would not do that.
We
but yeah.
wouldn't.
No, but I mean, I realize that, but I mean, let's talk about, what you did sounds like the right thing. We need the tractor that's got multiple drivers, it gets beat up every day, no question. So how much did we borrow?
It was only like $6,000-7,000. It wasn't like a humongous tractor. Yeah, no. If we had to make a purchase that was like, say $10,000 or $20,000, then obviously we would probably come to the select board just for that guidance, because maybe you could find it cheaper somewhere else because you're a municipality and you have the highway department. So if we needed a big piece of equipment, we would definitely come to the select board. We never spend that much money.
How come you didn't take that out of your reserve fund? I'm just curious, that's all.
We've always used it, put it in our regular budget. It's a piece of town equipment.
Okay.
So I don't feel like we needed to take it out of the reserve fund because it's town equipment. Do you take
If
money
you
out
didn't
of
pay
your?
for it all.
No.
You're making monthly payment,
Yeah,
and then you got 6,000 budgeted for this year.
see, I would think at
We-
179, it'd be
Yeah.
2,400
Yeah,
versus
'cause you
6,000.
got 6,000.
well, so that budget is not just for the tractor. If we need to spend money on other equipment in the rec department, that money's budgeted there too. So if there's ever something that needs to be repaired or fixed or replaced, then that money's there too. So it's just kind of planning
The
ahead.
money is in the reserve fund? No, I'm losing you here.
It's in the budget.
Oh,
In the
okay.
budget, the budget
So
is
it's really
6,000.
equipment, it's
It's
equipment,
equipment,
repair,
yeah.
loan, / loan,
Yeah.
what that line item really
Yeah,
is.
maybe you should change it
Change
from
the line
tractor and
item.
put it in like that,
Yeah, that way,
Because it won't be so confusing.
yeah, you were thinking the same thing.
But if
about
we
one.
do have a purchase that we have to make that's outside, like we don't have the money in our budget to do it, then we would utilize some money from that.
Did
Or if it's out of our scope,
the
but
lender,
tractor is part of our maintenance of our building.
I'm just curious, did the lender ask for any corporate resolutions or anything for you to go into and to obligate?
So we went through, is
John
it
Deere itself.
John Deere,
Mhm.
and we've bought numerous tractors from them before, and we are a municipality, and so, no, they didn't ask us for anything additional.
Wow.
Other than my social security number and all that information, like, I was on there, but then they put it through without me on there. Normally, I'm on the account, like, I'm part.
And again, I'm just curious, if there's a default on the loan, I'm sure there's gonna be, who picks up the pieces?
We're a
Town.
town entity, yep.
So the town,
Yep.
you've obligated
I know that.
the rec committee to borrow some money, which is
No, the town.
understandable.
It is a town, right? That would pick it up. Anything that isn't paid at the rec department, the library, anybody within the town that is part of the town municipality, if something happens, the town has to cover the cost.
Yep.
It's a town funded program.
I understand that.
well, I think what it brings up is they should get a copy of our purchasing guidelines. Cause that dollar amount really probably should have come before the board for approval. And that way it's all clear, because it could become a problem. I understand you've been working with United Ag and Turf
Yeah.
for years and years and years, and they're good. It's a couple $100 a month,
Yeah,
but it just would protect you folks if
right.
had that approval prior because of the dollar limit we have on spending authority, I think. Yeah, so
It was the cheapest one.
Is that good
Yeah.
against the fair?
If there's a default, we write the check.
Yeah, so you just send that over and then we'll follow it through next time. If we don't foresee making a purchase at
Or
this time.
maybe some policy that if it's over $2,500 or something.
that's what it has in there, and we
Yeah.
could
It does.
change, we could change it for the rec if we wanted, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean,
I would, you,
we're spending $2,500 on uniforms per season.
Yeah,
But are you taking out a loan to pay for those?
No.
uniforms?
No.
it's covered under our registration. So we
Yeah.
collect registration fees to cover the cost of that. So, but we're not collecting money to pay for the tractor. We're just asking the taxpayers for the money to pay for the tractor.
I think it's a fairly easy fix to protect everybody, I think is what.
Yeah, I think, again, what you did was right, we had to do it.
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable with the fact that a committee can obligate the town without us knowing about it.
Yeah.
You can enter into a transaction with a lender, and that's their problem, but they aren't asking who's responsible, except we are at the end of the day.
Right.
So I think a policy is, we really need to tighten it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would argue, and not to go too far with this, that the town may not be responsible because the lender went ahead and let somebody sign without actual authorization and backing, so I think, yeah. And we don't want that to happen, we wanna protect the rec department.
And I'm
and
sure it
everybody.
was just because we're good standing with them and we've done business with them for years, so they didn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
bat an eye, you know?
Right, yeah.
Like the poor guy that was selling me the tractor felt awful to ask for my social security number, and then the other guy that I've dealt with for years is like, Betsy's been doing this for 20 years. She's used to it. So don't worry. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Absolutely.
Protect all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you mind if I switch gears for a second? Just
No,
a
go
question.
ahead.
From a capital improvements perspective, what do you plan on using the $5,000 for?
So the $5,000 we've been asking for oh my gosh, for a few years now. I think Eugene Lavoie was on the board. So that money goes into our special funds account, and we break it out we have certain line items. I don't think those are on here actually,
Not
No.
right down at our special funds.
but we could always send those over to you so you could look at actually what we have in each line item.
You don't spend that money unless you have to, do you?
Right,
So you wanna build that account up.
right,
Yeah, it's like capital.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's got things like building upgrades, field maintenance,
Field repairs.
field repairs.
Just things that are like, we don't want to, take too much from the taxpayer. So we like to make sure there's something there
Garden.
in
playground.
case we
Scoreboards.
need it.
Well, you do a
This
great
isn't
job, there's no
accurate.
question.
This is
It's
an
an
old
important asset to the community, it really is.
This is not the, now, that's your board.
I've been talking about this reserve fund, everything else.
No,
since I got
this
on the
this
board.
is not accurate. This is
Oh.
it's
Is
just
it, has it been averaging 60,000 a year that you've had in that fund?
Yeah, but you got 150.
Yeah,
no, this is
depending,
not
cause so
accurate.
we
I'm
get
telling you
grant
that.
funds,
I'm
they
only
go in
looking
there
here.
also. unless the grants are specific for payroll, then they go just in our general fund to cover or offset the cost for payroll. But not many grants do that. A lot of grants don't, but we did have one this year that I think it was like $4,000 went towards our payroll, so that would go into our regular account. But any grants that Nicole writes and receives, we put it in our special funds account.
In the time when the taxpayers are being put to death with taxes, and we all are feeling it, is there any discussion with your board that maybe you would take part of that reserve fund and reduce their ask here at this level?
No.
Is there any reason why you wouldn't do that?
So we are creating that fund in case there is a concern, something happens at the rec department where we need that funds for that the taxpayers can't give us money for. So anything we put in our budget is specific to programs and just regular maintenance. If anything outside of the maintenance isn't in our budget or outside of our program that we budget for, then that's when we use the funds.
What do you, so you got a nice little nest egg, great, good. We have no control, it's owned by the town of Swanton at the end of the day, but we have no control over your expenditures, which I'm sure you're not gonna do some crazy things, of course. Does it seem like we should have some input or get into the approval loop if you start spending that money for anything over a certain amount of dollars, like the 2,500 or?
Well, it could fall into the same.
It would fall into the same criteria, it's just a
Yeah.
question of where they took it out of, and they would have to account for it out of that fund. Now, if there's around 60,000 and they buy down this budget with 30,000, then next year, you're gonna need that larger budget anyway, right?
Yeah, I realize
And then they're not gonna have their reserve piece.
So maybe our policy would cover the expenditures out of that fund over the same $2,500.
It should cover it should cover any purchase.
Yep.
Whether it comes out of the reserve funds or comes out of this budget right here. And I think as part of, how often do we report, do we get quarterly reports?
No.
Kathy from REC?
No.
But I can.
We can
Yeah, I
hand
mean,
them to you.
to me, it should be part of a quarterly report, which labels what the reserve fund
You
is.
know that I'm not gonna ask for it.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah,
We discussed it.
I think I think quarterly is reasonable.
And when we get that, we probably wanna see what's in the surplus account. And you're getting what kind of earnings on that, that's it.
It's in a checking account. It's not in like any sort of like CD or
Money market.
anything. It's a money market.
Money market.
Yeah, it's not collecting a ton of interest, no.
Is that for
We did one time put money into a 6 months CD, I think, when we were at M&T. Well, it was Chittenden at the time, but we haven't done that.
Would they be entitled to our investment rate, Kathy? Is that money now with the People's Trust?
Yeah,
Where is the money held?
People's
have
Trust?
people's trust.
People-
We have the same account now,
In a checking
You-
account,
or same
Money
bank,
market account.
money market, yeah.
Is there any
Yeah,
reason?
we,
Special funds.
I could check and see.
like the rate, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
We paid
because of-
$13 in interest last month.
So let that up, kind of.
No, I don't know.
But I guess my point is, maybe they could fall under our umbrella,
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna check and see
yeah,
if
and
they
get the
can.
same return that whatever. it is.
What's your rate paying, Kathy?
I'd have to look.
Is it over 3?
I believe it is over 3.
I know it.
Should check yours and see
4%
if it's.
They just over
I mean, percent,
We were at
maybe
4%.
A little bit extra.
I can say.
But you said you're not
She has
in
to
the
check
money
it.
market right now with that surplus money.
No, it's a money market
Yeah.
account.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
they're,
Okay,
Well, we call it special funds, but it's money market.
Okay.
That, it's in the bank.
Okay, so Kathy's gonna see if we can get you more money.
Well,
Really, why not?
yeah.
Well, but you think about it though, if it's, and this is just me with my TD knowledge, but we're at 4% right now. If that continued, I think we all know that the rate market is not going that way. But if it did, we're looking at $2,400 a year. So that would cut. Not to say you would replace this investment that you're looking for from the town, but that's nearly half of what you're asking for that continued 5,000 for
Right.
capital improvement. So if that's going to get you an additional 2,400, then that grows it even more
Right,
for you guys. So,
exactly.
Yeah,
Question-
definitely worth checking into right now.
Question regarding what are you actually asking for from the voters? 'Cause when I look at the Swanton Recreation for 2024, unless I'm looking at this wrong, it was 149,562.
Last year?
97 cents,
Yeah.
yes.
That's right.
Okay, so what am I looking at on here?
Oh, right
The
there.
cover page, the town appropriation, 239,602.
So, about $100,000.
A lot of that comes with the increase in health insurance and the increase of cost of goods, as well as adding on an additional position.
So can I ask, what happens to the funds if nobody selects to have the insurance? You're setting this money
Roll over.
aside,
Then
but that's
they'll-
50,000.
It just, nothing happens to it. Next year, we won't have an increase.
What happens if they don't draw it?
It gets rolled back
Then it
into
gets
next
rolled over,
year,
taken
so.
off of the
year.
appropriation that we
Yeah.
asked for next year.
Yeah.
But let me ask it this way then. Would that then sit in a separate account that is then reserved for if an employee then chooses to go onto the health
No, the way
insurance?
it's gonna happen is if they don't use the money, they're gonna have money left over from their budget.
Yeah.
They'll keep the line item the same amount, but they'll use that overage, the money they didn't use, to lower the amount that needs to be raised by taxes.
Okay, so that would sit essentially separate to take away from, so the ask would still be there, but that overage
Right,
would
so
take
like they're asking for two easy numbers, 230 and the insurance was
Yeah.
$30,000, they didn't use it, so they wouldn't need the 230, they could just do
Okay.
209. And the 30 would offset that other expense.
That's
So,
the same
like,
thing we do with the
Same thing
library.
we do.
Last year, our ask was 167, and then we had $18,000 in money to roll over. So that was minus off, and that's why we asked for 149. This year, we're not gonna have that much money.
No, and that's a 60% increase.
Yeah.
Where did the 239 come from that you mentioned, Nicole?
It's on the front page where it says town appropriation.
That page?
That page.
Yep, it says
Yeah,
cover
I-
page
Yeah, I missed that.
and the
Yep.
header.
Yeah, but you didn't.
She even numbered the pages, which I am so
So
glad.
this is 148 last year.
149,562, 60%. Budget increase.
And where do you see the 149 here though, for
No,
2024?
it's not on
It's not there, it's in our,
Oh.
it's in our town report,
Oh, okay.
Swanton Recreation.
Cole left that out so little, so.
How much are you asking for this year versus last year?
About
100,000,
Where do you get that number out?
right here on this cover page, this is what they're asking for. Last year's budget was 100, what they asked for, it's not written there, that's why you gotta write it down. $149,562
And 97
and
cents.
97 cents, that's what they asked for last year.
So why does this show the 240 then? Is that because it doesn't take out the revenue?
The insurance.
Right.
The insurance and the new employees, most of that's coming right there. If you look at the.
Yeah, I'm
budget.
just wondering the separation of the 240 to the 149. We're talking that's the operating revenue that came in that would have offset that.
No,
sorry,
There's
the
there's
240 here.
239 here is what they're talking about.
Yeah, but the last year, right? So if I look at 2024 budget, we had a total of 240,000.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just wondering, how do we get from 240 down to 149?
so what happens there? I know it's so confusing, but so you. No, that's not.
It's
The two-
Revenue.
Rev-
Revenue.
so
There
there,
is revenues.
the revenues gets minused from that,
Okay.
and
So
then
I'm sorry.
the rollover.
You're right. Take the revenue and the rollover.
Right, and that gives
Can
us.
you, can you revise this to reflect all of what you're talking about? Like, show,
That's what you sent us, right? That's what David or Brian sent us, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever the form was, but I can fix it to however you
Is
guys
this
want it to say
This
it.
is
I
the
think-
format that we were given.
I think a summary down here saying
Well,
what the
so
appropriation was in.
oh yeah, so like
Right.
we did and like we do in our in the book, right?
yeah.
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 Let me just see.
Because I think the only line item that I'm really missing is that operating revenue. So that way, or just the revenue itself. So that way, it's here's what our
Revenue
expenditures are going to be. Here's the revenue, and then that final number at the very bottom.
Okay.
That way, I can just get an idea of like what
Yeah.
you guys are expecting for the year. So that way, it's because otherwise, this looks like if I'm looking at the 149, and all of a sudden we're up to 324. It's oh my goodness, what happened? But it's
Less
actually
appropriation.
no. There's a big difference here, right?
Yeah.
We're
So
missing
right.
what you guys are generating.
So it's
Yeah.
the total.
Right.
minus the revenue,
Yeah.
minus the carryover, and that's how they
Yeah.
came up with a 149,562.
So what do you want? You want us to put, you want us to have the expenditure, revenue and expenditures.
Revenues are on this page.
Right, I think
Yeah.
they want them all.
I just think on
one
the
page.
summary page here, we
Oh,
have it
on
on
the
here,
summary,
but then
yeah,
it,
okay.
it should be a net.
Yeah, and we've had 15 questions as it relates to that, so
Yeah.
let's make it clear, you know, if a taxpayer comes in, they scratch their head and leave.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this.
Basically, it's the budget number for the year,
Mhm.
the, town appropriation, the revenue, and
So if
then
you-
for the new budget, it would be the carryover that's gonna subtract, but it would show the revenue, yes,
Yeah.
subtracted from the,
I don't think
from
they're
the
going
total
to, no.
budget, and then that's what, that's
Probably
the
not.
appropriation, yeah.
I do think all the pieces of the
Carryover,
puzzle are there.
yeah.
I think it's just a
I
matter
don't
of
look at my.
So it's
expenses.
basically the
You might be
324,000
minus.
minus their estimated revenue 84,740 equals the 239,602.
Right,
Yep.
and then any carryover could
Which
be
I-
subtracted from the
which may not
239, which I
be
think
any.
is gonna be zero. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
But right now, this
Yeah.
amount that you're asking, that you got here presenting tonight,
Is our
would-
expenditures.
might be get reduced if there is a carryover, if there is a carryover.
Correct.
I think
Otherwise, we're in for that much, that's the max.
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing is
No carryover.
no carryover.
Probably not.
So it's, yeah, it's,
It's the first year we've ever not had one. In 20 years.
Is that because of our fee structures now? That's it.
Cost of goods
We
has
just
gone
had a
up
lot of,
exponentially.
the cost, well, like all of our, what we thought we were gonna pay for anything was super high, super high.
And you can see that in the expenses. I've broken it down. There's admin expenses and then there's expenses for programming costs. And you can see for soccer uniforms, we budgeted 1,500 where we actually paid 3,800. Things like Little League uniforms, we budgeted 55 and we paid 57. I'll tell you, for basketball uniforms, we budgeted 2, but we're well over 35, and that's just the cost of goods itself.
I wanna ask this question, is it because you have more participants? You need more uniforms, are the numbers increasing, is that cost, is this what driving some of that total
Minimal,
cost, minimal?
minimal. It's the cost of goods, the cost of screen printing. You know, we explore our options, we shop when we do that, but it everywhere has gone up considerably.
Yeah, Nick does a really good job about shopping around and finding the cheapest,
so 90,000, increase, $67,000 is just payroll and medical.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
And that's really
huge driving factor of that
every
increase.
budget I've heard tonight.
Yeah.
Right? Every budget had a increase
Yeah,
in.
when we have these smaller numbers around 200,000 and someone takes on medical that didn't carry it the year before,
Yeah.
there's a huge increase in percentage that we get hit with.
Like I said, I was like, wait a minute, this can't be right. Is this right? I emailed
Right.
Nicole, I'm like, what in the world?
What we need to be able to do when we're going to our March meeting is be able to say, okay, so that $40,000 medical or whatever that increase is, this is what is the effect on your home. You know, so they just don't look at it as this huge increase, it's okay, but for you, it's really not too much.
Well, you gotta add all in 40,000 together, then we'll have the total effect.
Correct. Oh, yeah.
Not just one.
I understand that, but as like parsing away this budget, I understand that, and that's exactly how we report it.
No, not to lift it further, but just a quick question. I'm looking at football on page 3 here. I'm seeing 4,000 as the budget, but it looks like you guys spent 12. Are you
They-
comfortable with the 4,000 again for the next year?
They did substantial fundraising this
Okay.
year, that's why it was 12, because it is a startup program, they were able to do some fundraising to offset those costs.
Okay.
So we're not looking at such a large startup, this is the second year of that program. So a lot of the costs were buying equipment and they were able to purchase a lot of that with their fundraising.
So even though it shows that big increase, it didn't necessarily impact the overall budget, cause you're gonna come out pretty much spending all that you budgeted for.
Right.
Okay.
You got a good gist of where we'd like to reformat this, and,
Yep.
okay.
Anything else,
She's got the
folks?
gist.
I'll have it to you tomorrow.
I do have one more thing. So we do have an interested board member, cause we have a vacancy. And, he came to our last meeting, his name is Ben Kaufman, he just moved to Swanton a year ago, but he was born and raised in Franklin County. So he has young children and he really wants to get involved in the rec department. So we as a board have said, yes, we would like to have him on our board, but you have to appoint him.
Is he, does he live in Swanton?
Yep, he lives on, did he say Canada Street? Yep, he's been here for about a year, but like I said, so he used to work for the Messenger, the
That's
Courier.
where-
So he's been a reporter, sports reporter, that's where I know him from, and now he currently works at Tim's house. He does all of their like donations, like looks for donations, so he works at Tim's house right now.
Fundraiser.
Yeah, I
You need 'em.
I know, I call him a professional beggar, but I think he will bring a lot to the table because he has that fundraising background, so that's really nice. And he has the sports background, so he's just gonna bring a lot more to the table, and we do need a lot more active board members. So we'd like to have him
Motion
join us.
To approve him, to appoint him?
I'll move.
Second.
I'm staying.
Let it have it.
Nicole abstains.
What is his
Everyone.
name?
Ben Kaufman, K-A-U.
Motion been made and seconded to appoint Ben Kaufman to the rec board. Any further discussion? Hear none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
So other than those updates, like just the format of the budget, there's not really money changes we can make, but,
Right, and then again, board members have till January third,
oh,
if there's specifics, and we get it to Brian. Brian will let you know, 0 comments, or I'd like to have you back, just cause it's so much fun.
Just one other question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
A while ago, Betsy, you were working on the, articles or the
bylaw,
bylaws.
Yeah.
And I think you made an effort at redrafting those.
yeah,
And
did
then
you
we,
guys approve them?
I don't think so.
We haven't had it before.
No, we haven't,
No, but I don't
we haven't seen those. Because I think what the issue was, you had suggested some changes. Earl raised the question, well, if we're gonna see the changes, why don't we put the new ones in and what the changes are under it so we can follow it? 'Cause,
I didn't receive any changes.
well, then we don't know what the new policy is though, because
I sent a new policy to the town, and I didn't get any like,
I don't think it was anywhere.
amendments
I don't think it
from
was
you.
anywhere.
Let me look back in my notes, but
Send
I'm
those to
pretty
me.
sure that we presented them. But I'll look back and see,
I looked it
cause I
over,
was like, how come they haven't approved our bylaws yet?
I looked it over and I think there were some changes.
There was, I think you had said there were changes just for like town things you guys have adapted that we needed to implement into our bylaws. But I'll look back and see if you sent them to me or not.
Yeah, I just think it's for everybody's protection, we ought to, bring closure to that.
Yeah,
And I got it, I don't have it here, I've got it back in my desk, but I think there were just minor things. One of them might have been when you meet in October to have the budget prepared or something like that. And it was a little confusing, probably okay, but we should, so if you could send us the current one again, and then the new one, and then as Earl had stated, show us what the changes are.
I think I remember it coming through that way, where you had the changes
and I thought
noted,
you were
but
I was been waiting on you guys, and you guys are think you're waiting on me, so maybe we ought to all go back and look at our notes,
Brian's got it down as an action item. I saw you take it
Also,
out. Okay.
Is this something that the policy that we just talked about, is that something that should go in there also?
Yes.
It should
You
just
should,
state that you
well,
follow
that's
the
a-
policy,
yeah.
but we should look at the
That's a
policy.
separate policy.
Yeah.
It
But
should-
you don't have it in your bylaws currently, that policy?
It's a separate policy
Cause we
that
do
sign.
have like a money amount in our bylaws, like we have an X
Yes,
amount of
you
money
do, I
that,
remember that, it's like
it was
$1,000
only like, well, I think it was like 200 or 500 maybe.
But still, that would have to stay within the town's,
We have several
Guidance.
fiscal policies.
so any spending
Oh.
limit you set has to be lower. You couldn't, the rec couldn't say people had $10,000 spending authority if the town said anything over 2,000 had to be approved by the board. It'd have to be more restrictive, not less, so what we need to do is we'll get that policy, take a look at it, and then you can incorporate it by reference, and then if you want an even stricter line, you can put, we will follow the town's funding or, spending guidance and limits are set at this, and then it would cover it.
Okay.
Okay,
Glad you brought that up, Steve, because we all thought we were waiting on each other.
thank you,
Well, thank you guys, and Merry Christmas and
Merry
Happy New
Christmas.
Year and
all that.
all that good jazz.
Alright.
Give me just 1 minute. People wanna take a quick little break or not? Been sitting here for a couple hours.
No, I'll keep going, but anyway.
I'd love some water. Here comes some down.
Spill it.
There you go.
Okay, highway budget, we had some discussion last meeting, and then, the final numbers were put in. So, I was asked about putting some notes together, so what I'll start with is going down through these notes I prepared. Salaries, the line item is not increased by 4%. We have not been paying as much overtime as we've been budgeted for the last couple of years, so that number's been reduced a little bit. So you'll see on the line item for salaries right at the top, it's 0.48%.
Should we have a buffer in there, Joe?
We do have a buffer,
For
just,
overtime?
right, it's just
Okay.
not as big. Yeah, we definitely gotta have overtime figured into, because of the plowing. I mean,
Would it make sense to break that item out though, of here's what salaries are and then this is overtime as a separate budget for that overage of like,
It's
We
really
don't
part
have
of,
to-
it's really part of the salaries, I
Okay.
mean, yeah. Stone is the next item, and that's down a dozen line items or so. As you can see, we didn't spend, very much in that line item, wanna keep it around 5,000. Just for, information purposes, we only have one dirt road and one class 4 road where we would use any large amount of stone. 5,000 should cover it. Road line paint, discussed this a little bit last meeting. Want to increase that, 'cause we would like to do more painting. Estimated at 26 cents a foot, we'd be able to do 13.11 miles, and we have 38.95 miles of class 3 roads. Last year we did around 10 miles. And not every one of our class 3 roads we even stripe. You know, some of the ones in developments and stuff, we just don't put a stripe down the center, so. Do wanna increase that one, but, don't think that's unreasonable.
On that striping, it is a good thing, to have them on the road, especially if you get older, at night. Is there a certain amount of road mileage that we're gonna have to do? And it gets, if we could get it on a rotation, then we could keep, you know, we'd never get behind every 3 years, every 4 years, it would get done every road.
Well, that's essentially, that's what we're trying to get to. I think at 13 miles, we'll be able to do, like you could really look at it and say at 13 miles, every 3 years, you would
we
We
redo it every 3 years. Is that what, is that work the best, 3 years or 4 years? I don't know how long that stuff is supposed to last on the road.
That depends, the plows can, and it depends some on the painter, because some of them don't even last a full year, you know? And then you get where they stripe over a newly paved road and it doesn't adhere as good and it comes off quicker. I think at 13,
I think that,
we're in pretty good
that
shape.
rate there.
Yeah.
Does that also cover crosswalks as well that are
No.
stripped? Okay.
No, we work with the village on the painting of the crosswalks.
Okay.
It's that's pretty much done in house. This would be done by a contract, and we're gonna go with the one who does most of the state's painting in the county. Their lines are so much better than the one we've been getting the last few years. And if it's 2 cents more a foot, I think everyone will be happier, because at night, that getting that reflective material into the paint makes a big difference on the road, especially at 4 in the morning. Resurfacing, that's a big part of the budget, $450,000. Did not change that line item, and I feel pretty comfortable. Price of oil not expected to increase very much,
Should go down.
and it should. And last year we did around 3.8 miles. The other thing to keep in mind is we're gonna do some paving under the Swanton, or the road improvement project, Swanton Hill, so that would add to that 3.8. So 3.8 miles per year, road would be resurfaced every 15 years. Some can make it a little over 15, and then some can only make about 12.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Is that the class 3 roads that are getting resurfaced?
Yes. 3 and some of the 2s.
Some of the 2s.
Well, actually, the 2s and the 3s. The striping, the state stripes the class 2s. We stripe the class 3s. We pave.
Oh,
Yeah, and then there's
Okay.
then there in their total mileage, there's the state highways as well.
Could you tell me the difference between a class 2 and a class 3, or a class 1?
Class 2s usually connect the communities,
Okay,
and that's why I think the state has agreed to just continue doing that, and then the town gets to decide on the stuff that's pretty much just within the town.
so the class 3 would be.
Like Woods Hill Road is a class 2.
Okay.
Because it starts in Swanton and gets you all the way over to Sheldon. And then they'll do the middle road.
So what's the can you give me an idea of what class 3 in Swanton would be?
Camel Bay Road,
Paper road.
Tabor Road.
Lakewood Drive.
They're just within Swanton.
Church
Along
Road.
Shore Road?
They actually stripe because it connects to St. Albans.
Oh, okay.
So that's why we have a nice looking stripe, and then I invite you to drive down James Road at night and compare the two lines.
Oh,
Next
yeah.
year, we're gonna fix that.
Good.
Yeah. Or, yes, next year we're gonna fix that. I'm gonna stay with that statement. Garage maintenance, I told you, a large increase is to pave the actual parking area there. It wasn't paved when the building was built, 2013 timeframe, and it's just deteriorated. It's time to fix that. Equipment rental, reduce that line item significantly. Want to leave some money in there to give us some flexibility if we had to go rent something that was substantial, but again, we'll decrease that line item. Tree service, increase that line item. We know we're gonna have more trees next year to take care of than this year because of the emerald ash borer.
See you, Bob.
Good night, Bob.
Yeah.
Stormwater permits, would like to carry over that 19,998.60 and add 10,000, and that basically gives us 30,000 like we had budgeted for this year. Hopefully we can actually get more work done and get these permits sorted out. Road improvement projects want to carry over the amount that we had and add 60,000 to that, not 6,000, there's a missing 0. And then Brooklyn Street, want to carry over the 35,837.50. That should be enough to cover the cost of what we're going to do there. A lot of that work is in-house. So the bottom line is we want to carry over, asking permission to carry over around $218,000. Those 3 line items. We still will have a little money left in this year's budget if we carry that amount over. And I am very comfortable that next year we'll be asking for a number very similar to this year. So the highway budget is actually gonna be reduced. In the 2021 timeframe, 940,000 was what we were spending. And so we're up to, 1.2, and I think we can operate at 1.2 for several years, short of some major.
Are you gonna redo this? Are you gonna be, you gave us this on 12/3.
There's a new one in the packet.
Okay, I didn't see that.
So sorry about that. There's a new one in the packet.
So
that-
Joe, this bottom line here, you're asking for $1.2 million, forget about the carryover.
Yep.
Last year, we asked for $1.3 million.
Yep.
Alright, I don't have any problem at all with doing it that way, and I think maybe we should, wow, how are you gonna carry that carryover? Do we have to make a motion separate on the carryover to utilize it for these specific projects?
You usually do.
We do a motion, but the select board can approve it,
Exactly.
doesn't have to go to the
Because-
taxpayers.
right.
for the highway. Yes.
Right, I mean, we're gonna do that here, that we're gonna put that in there, money in for those purposes,
Right.
that carryover money.
Right, if we approve this budget, then
Yeah.
part of it is, and that's why I'm glad you put that right in the column there, carryover, so we are documenting
Yeah.
Pages of them.
Carry
I didn't-
I don't have the pages numbered.
25.
Page 25.
So this one is the update.
Page 25 is the correct one.
Okay, great.
This one here. Yep. Monday. So this is the new revised reflecting everything that you brought into play here.
Yes, which is pretty much what was talked about 2 weeks ago. Put it, codified it, so it's all right there to be looked at. And
So the number that we're looking at is $1,257,605,
yes,
okay? And that's down 9.35%.
yes.
Good job.
And
We got lucky, we got lucky.
it got into building the budget to take care of some big projects.
Yeah.
Earl laid that foundation,
Yeah.
and it works out that we can do this,
We just
maintain
spent
our
money.
maintain our roads. I think for years, next year they'll probably show a 2 or 3% increase, but that's okay.
So we got 39 miles of roads.
Class
38
3
point-
roads, no.
We have
It's closer to 60, right?
yes,
Because you're gonna add the class 2.
through class 3 and class 2, and then we still have the state highways that run through.
Yeah.
But they take care of they plow.
So we got about 60 miles of roads.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry to go back to the resurfacing for a second. We feel comfortable with the 3.8 miles per year. That's gonna keep us every 15 years a road gets resurfaced. That's the right.
Yep. and some will get you 15, 16, 17 years, and some will be 13 or 14, depending on traffic. And the other issue you get is our roads are not made for these large farm vehicles now. And you could see where the roads were widened, and that comes out down that far lane, left or right, depending on which direction you're going. And those are the ones that are gonna get beat up quicker. Yeah. Okay, that's all I have on this,
That's
unless,
good job.
Yeah.
Good job. First time we've seen anybody come in to walk.
Do you, yeah,
Yes.
Good feeling.
do you wanna approve this budget tonight?
that's strictly up to you folks, if you want to or not.
I mean, I'm comfortable with it, I don't think we're gonna get any better, we're very fortunate it worked out this way, it's gonna help us a lot on the overall tax increase. So I'd make a motion that we, approve the highway budget as presented.
I'll second.
And hats off to everybody that was involved in this.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the 2025 highway budget as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Good job.
It's a big budget to be down 9.35.
General budget.
So the general budget, the salary increases went based on what you approved, which affects the childcare, Medicare, FICA, you're talking
Yeah.
about. Health insurance, there is a variance, but I'm leaving it as that, because we may have someone that may come on. Everything else, stayed the same. Printing, I increased it because And the part of the printing is also what we print in the paper. And we did a lot of extra printing. I don't know if we'll do a lot of extra advertising for positions or not in the paper, but last year we did quite a bit more than, well, I can see more than we usually do. The election expense, I lowered it because instead of 5 elections next year, we're only gonna have 1. And tax appeals, I'm leaving with the 2,000. I'm leaving the meetings and mileage the same. Pretty much everything's the same. Water and sewer, I increased it because it was higher, and that's because the rates went up. Electricity, the same thing, slight rate increase. Janitorial, we lowered it. I lowered it to 13 because I spent 10,244, and I don't see any big increases in that. Parcel mapping, we'll leave that the same. Auditing, we'll leave it the same.
Okay, so you're
Legal
waiting
fees.
for a couple of things, alright. You're still waiting for Franklin County, eh?
Right. The only thing, pretty much everything's the same or gone down a little bit, but I don't have the Franklin County tax. I did email out there today, but they usually don't have their budget meeting until the end of December.
Okay.
So I might not get that number, but it's usually is in that number, that range of $69,000.
So how close are we to that 900,000 on this first page if we figure figure 70 in? But you don't have you didn't put no total.
I didn't put it because it
Yeah.
wasn't there.
Okay.
So if we flip over to the other side, appropriations didn't change. We're gonna take out the foster grandparent program because that does not exist anymore. We are taking out the MU celebration, graduation celebration, because they called and said they can't get any parents to take it over, so they don't want us sending money because they can't use the money. And then the other thing was an increase. Green Up sent us out, actually sent an email today, said that they wanted to increase from 250 to 300. So the appropriations are going down a little bit. So I do.
Can I ask a question on the appropriations?
Sure.
Do those groups come and present to the board to say this is how we're planning to use the money for the next year, we'd like to continue, or how does that process
They
go?
pretty much request the money, and then they'll request it, when I send the checks, we usually get a thank you back, thank you for your, sending us the money and supporting us, and we appreciate if going the next year you could do the same amount for us. They use it for the different programs in which they do, what they're pretty much labeled for on here.
What we've done, if someone's new, they usually come in and present. And then if someone has an increase, they usually come in, and we sometimes left the base amount up in the line, and we put a separate item for voters to vote on to increase it or not. And then we talked about every so often we should possibly just let voters vote on each one of these line
I
items.
thought we were gonna pull these out of here.
We talked about it
Yeah, all
with
of
possibility, and that's up to the board to decide. But
Pull them out of where?
Well, right now, you've got them all here, which, you've got all these money things that we give
Yeah.
out. Should we pull those out and let the taxpayers
They,
have a list of them in the,
Well, it makes for an awful ballot.
well, not only that, do you wanna take this money out of here and take it out of your budget and then add it back in when it's things we've always done and have done previously?
I know.
I know you wanna vote on them, 'cause especially when people have asked for them already, put in the budget for his appropriation. But I mean, we can, if you want to split it out, each one get voted on individually on the ballot, which is, if that's what you wanna do, but we still have to include it in our budget.
it would still
We're
be
not,
part
we
of
can't take those out of our budget,
right.
they still have to stay
Well,
in
we
there.
could.
Yeah.
Couldn't the board? We could take them all out if we wanted to, couldn't we?
Good.
You could.
But it's not something I want to do. Okay, I'm just saying. We can,
You
Steve.
can do whatever
we
you
can.
wanna do, you're right.
I guess my point and where I'm coming from, and I have nothing against any of these programs whatsoever. I guess just as somebody new to the board, I don't know what was agreed upon by these when they first came in saying, hey, we really need this money, we're gonna do X, Y, Z with it. And is those statements still true today? And how do we get a reconfirmation from them without an auto, okay, we're gonna send out this check to them, but we still, and not to say any of these programs aren't doing what they said
You
they were
have
gonna do.
some of the, you have the letters.
Some of
in the
these-
back from them.
Don't some of these organizations report in the town report?
Yeah, they give us
They do.
reports, yeah.
They do.
They do, so, you
So
know,
I'll
you'll
have to
get,
look there,
you
yeah.
know,
It varies, and then, you know, it's a good question, this adult learning, is there, is that still a program around, you know?
Yeah, that is, because we had got a letter from them.
Yeah.
I actually got a few letters here that are new
Yeah, we have
appropriations
new
or
ones, yeah.
increase. So, if you recall, excuse me, back, last August, we received a, email I did from, Northwest Access.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that one up.
And they were requesting, we've been giving them $1,500 and they're requesting an increase of $4,000. They requested it at that time. We replied back, I said, I did bring your request to the attention of the select board at a meeting last evening. Unfortunately, the budgeted amount we have for Northwest Access Television for the year is $1,500. We do not have the financial resources to provide the requested additional amount at this time. The board would like to review the request again when we are preparing the 2025 budget, which will start this coming November for voter approval at town meeting next March. The select board is very appreciative of the service that Northwest Access provides and wish continued success. And this was their letter they had put out at that time, basically stating that they had to meet their, trying to meet their expenses and that they're providing a service to the community. And they were requesting that the select board currently do, bring it to $4,000. So that's,
What did you put in here?
there's 1,500 in there right now, so.
Cause that's what we have been given.
Right,
Yes.
but if you wanted to increase it to 4,000, that's your prerogative tonight.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking $40,000. In the overall scheme of things, it's a pittance.
yeah.
But I just, again, like, taxpayers are gonna wanna have a little more active role, I think, in what we spend that money on, because they ain't getting money left. Okay, so do we start here? And we have a policy, can anybody just send Brian a letter and get on here?
No,
No,
Okay,
no, we have to prove it.
Right.
new appropriations get approved.
So you got 3 others here.
But when we approve
Approved by
those,
the
how
voters.
long does that
No,
approval
well,
last?
the
1 year.
The board
Till the
approves,
next
put them
budget.
on as a, to be
Well, but if
voted
we're
on as an
auto
article.
approving them, not to say it's an automatic thing, but if no one's ever going through these and auditing to say, you know, do they have to resend a letter to us the next year saying
They
you still
do,
need
They
that
do.
amount?
that's
Yeah,
what we just
they
said,
do.
they do.
Well,
They do.
some do.
The majority of them do,
Most do.
we've gotten,
Shouldn't we require all of them to resend a letter and say this is what the funds will be used for?
Oh, you could,
Then-
yeah.
Not trying to put any roadblocks up, but I think it would just be fair to keep them all to the same standard of if you want the taxpayers' support, you
how
should tell them
many,
what
you've
they're,
had it
you're gonna
checked,
use the
who do
funds
we
for.
not get requests
Well,
from?
I got that in
do
my
we have
desk.
a policy on this that talks about how you get on this list?
No.
It's
just-
no, it's basically a letter gets submitted and then it's brought before
If
the
they
board.
call and wanna know, I tell them they have to submit a letter to the board. The board will take action on the request and put it on the ballot. We used to list all these appropriations on the ballot. I will tell you, working those polls, people complain about that.
Yeah, it is. It's-
Well, you wouldn't wanna do it every year, no?
If you wanna do it, really, if you guys really wanna do it, we should just separate out the whole appropriations. And if people wanna vote that down, they can. That won't
Oh, the
affect
total.
the total.
Yeah, I wouldn't be interested in doing that.
I think, and let me know if this is nice, but it seems like for a certain dollar amount, maybe that's like, if you extend over X, then it has to be, you know, put to a vote to continue, otherwise, I don't know, but I do agree that a policy, I think, would be important to say,
Or
this is the
guidance or
process.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to say, this is how you join, or how you propose an idea to the board, and then this is how you retain that proposal.
Yeah, you could say, if somebody says, I wanna get on your budget, you could say, well, here's how it's done.
No, that's
Send
pretty
this-
much,
Yeah.
you tell them to do a letter request, then they have to come to the select board meeting to ask and explain why they want the money and what they're gonna do with the money.
Yeah,
That's pretty much the way
yeah.
it's historically been done.
Yeah, with new requests,
Yeah, new requests.
because
And
somebody's
previous-
been on here for years.
Yeah. And we usually get,
I like the idea of requesting an annual letter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I think that's
Yeah.
we'll have to
reasonable
go through
enough.
it and check them off, cause we did get annual letters from most of them.
For
Couldn't
most
we
of them.
draft a letter and send them saying going forward, the town of Swanton?
Yeah, I mean,
is
that's
gonna
what we
do
should
their
do, we
Yeah,
shouldn't just,
usually
yeah.
different, we want an update letter every year
Yeah.
of request and what you're using it for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you got two that aren't there anymore, so, you know, if we don't get a letter, then we're assuming you're
You're
not
off the
here,
list.
yeah.
And to the point of having
Well,
a
no,
policy
the two
though,
that I
it has
took
to be
off,
by a
actually, I
certain
got
date,
calls
right?
from.
We
Oh,
receive it by this
yeah,
date,
you
otherwise
that's
you
why I
won't get
took
it.
them off.
It saves us any headache either, right? It's like we can communicate that with these people of, you have until, I'll just make a date, September 1st, you have to get that letter into the board to say we're gonna recertify, otherwise it helps us in the process of saying, sorry, you had this date, you weren't there, so you got removed. That's,
And you follow up,
Definitely do
maybe
it.
we ought to have a letter saying that anybody that's on this list, they all appear to be quite worthwhile, there's no
Yep.
question. We just say to them, here's our written guidelines. Every year, send them a letter,
Yeah,
send them a piece of
they
paper
usually, they'll
saying,
usually email and say, what do I need to do to get on this appropriation? I go, you need to send a letter.
yeah, I mean, it's.
The majority of them will email us, there's just a couple of them, I'll be honest, a couple of them who don't.
About 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, we
but I
gotta-
think also it does
Right.
us justice too of if a taxpayer reaches out saying, well, what are they doing? Why is my tax dollars going to this? We can then provide that
Yeah.
letter to say, this is what they said.
Yeah,
this
makes
is-
sense.
let's formulate it, that's all.
Yep.
Now, what are we gonna do about Northwest Access? That's the question, okay?
Yeah, that's the question.
Alright, I mean, do you wanna
Don't need
appropriate
it.
more for them, or you don't wanna raise the appropriation?
Did they state what they were going to use the additional funds for?
Brian, is that still an appropriation or is that turned into an expense? Isn't it for recording and everything or
It's
is
for
it still?
recording.
So it's still an appropriation or?
Okay, this was the letter they sent originally with the email. They're writing on behalf of Northwest Access P.E.G. to request your consideration for funding to support the media coverage of Swanton Town's bi-weekly municipal meetings. As you know, our team has been committed to providing high-quality coverage, ensuring that these meetings are accessible to the entire community. However, we're currently facing significant financial challenge. Due to ongoing decline in cable subscribers with Comcast, the company federally mandated to fund public access. Northwest Access TV is on pace to lose 10% of its funding in this year. Without a vital support, we may struggle to provide the same level of service to the residents of Swanton and to rely on. We believe that transparency and accessibility of local government proceedings are crucial to fostering an informed and engaged community. Your support would not only help offset the costs associated with our coverage, but would also demonstrate strong commitment to ensure that all residents have access to the important work being done by the Select Board. We respectfully request that the Select Board consider allocating funds to Northwest Access TV to help us continue this essential service. The estimated yearly cost of covering Swanton Select Board is currently $4,000. Your contribution would greatly support the recording, staffing, post-production, and archiving of the bi-weekly municipal meetings, making them available for community consumption and upholding the act of transparency that our Secretary of State currently encourages. While it would be a dream to receive the full amount necessary, we're asking each municipality to see if any percentage of the contribution request can be met. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We'd be happy to provide any additional information or discuss this request further at your convenience. Sincerely, Paul Snyder, the Executive Director. So they did bring out the point, these are archived, and so I'm not sure the fine point of the law if that's required now or not. I don't know if it is, but it is a source of archives, and they go out on YouTube. But that's
Basically looking up the 4,000, they realize we may not give them the whole thing, right? Is that what you read?
That's right.
Yeah. And they get other funding, so it's not just
Right.
us to cover that.
No,
So, I
they
mean,
sent this to every town and village.
But I mean, they said the cost to cover us was 4,000, right?
Right, that's what they were asking.
So do we fund the whole 4,000, but we knowing that they get money coming from Comcast and other things, so do we just make some increase here and see if that works or not?
What are your colleagues telling you, Brian, are they getting the same letter?
Well, they got the same
Are
letter.
they
In fact,
telling you what they're doing?
I believe the village, I'm not sure what their price was, but I thought the village had paid it when they received it. No.
So they gave it to them this year, even though they didn't budget that much.
Right, and now normally all the appropriations, and Kathy brings up a good point, is this an expense or an appropriation? Because the village, all appropriations, if people make an appropriation to the village refers them down here. Because it comes out of the general fund.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because now this is actually for,
Everybody.
in order for us to get this out on the TV,
Right.
this is what the cost.
So the appropriations all come out of the general fund.
So maybe we should move that out of there then and put it,
Into expense.
yes.
They aren't sending us a bill specifically, they said that's roughly what it costs to do it, they're not saying,
They did send an invoice with the letter of $4,000.
yeah, but what did the paragraph you read that said, you know, some amount up to, or what it?
See, they're running on a fiscal year is why they sent it when they did. While it would be a dream to receive the full amount necessary, we're
Yeah.
asking each municipality to see if any percentage of the contribution request be met.
Yeah, so they're not saying, here's your bill for the year, they did attach a number.
Right.
So I don't see it as an expense yet, we don't have a contract with them, and we don't. I see it as we're giving a donation to them, and at some point, they don't have enough funds, they might decide, we're not gonna come to every one of your meetings, you know?
Which would be very unfortunate. I don't know, I mean, we gotta make some decision, and we're gonna sit here all night. On this one, you got several more.
Well,
that
we
are-
don't have to make a decision tonight.
Don't have
I mean, we wanna think about this, and we're discussing tonight,
I'm comfortable to go up to Tony Island and
but that's up to you.
What's our current expenditure?
1,500.
If they weren't providing this service, how would we provide it? Are we obligated by law?
I don't know if we are, but
That
That's
goes
why
on
we're doing
YouTube
it.
tomorrow morning.
That would be, I'm sorry.
That's on YouTube tomorrow morning.
And that's it, that's important.
is Susie's hand up, or is that?
No, it's the
Oh.
mouse.
Right, this would go, our meetings would not go out on YouTube. Unless we establish a YouTube.
We have a YouTube channel.
Oh, we do have,
All
okay,
of
that
the
was,
meetings
that's our
that you
channel.
send me the Zoom link, I upload them to the town of Swanton
Okay,
YouTube channel.
I stand correct.
So we're doing this now anyway, even
Going
tonight's,
to YouTube.
even tonight's meeting.
But would we lose, because we could stream it live on YouTube?
No, we don't wanna stream live, cause people can't behave.
Oh, fair
And we
enough.
get little hackers.
Fair enough.
We're not
Okay.
streaming live.
Yeah.
I'll take the hour to upload them.
Fair enough.
Not doing
Yeah,
it.
so totally fair. I just, you do lose,
From YouTube.
I guess you don't lose it because people can still interact remotely through Zoom, so you
Right.
still have that access.
So we have an alternative to the Northwest cable or whatever this is.
Even though Northwest is established, there are a lot of people that actually watch it.
On channel 15, there is a lot.
Yeah, and that's why I don't
And
have
you
a
can get
problem
everybody
increasing, I
here
don't
for
think we
non-cable.
have to pay the full 4,000 right now. We don't know what their total budget is.
Well, then we should request that information from them then, before we make a final decision.
What was it Brian read?
Red
It
said,
said they would like to get all the 4,000, but some percentage increases, they'd be happy with it. So that's for us to decide.
well, generally, they're not gonna stay in business long doing business like that, because you don't go say, hey, we need 4,000, but give us what you can. You know, that's, you know what I mean?
No, what I said was, they say it's around.
No, I'm saying that.
What I'm saying, what they said was it's around 4,000 to cover Swan.
Yeah.
And what they said is they have other funding sources too, and some of it's only dropped by 10%. So right now, for $1,500 a year, we're getting $4,000 worth of programming, essentially. So if they get a 10% budget decrease, they need $3,600. So if we give an increase of a certain amount, we would cover that 10% deficit, our share of that 10% deficit.
But the only question, and I think we should give them something, I think everybody's going here tonight is suffering from the same dilemma. But are we duplicating our efforts? Because Christina can.
Well, the only reason we have the YouTube channel is so I can upload the DRB and planning. That is why that was started. Before, I used to copy and paste Northwest Access YouTube to the website.
So we're not really duplicating.
Or not, I would still have to do it,
Okay,
and it's free. We have a free channel.
on
But-
YouTube.
Our YouTube is free.
But I think to the point of cost efficiency, and I know that this is peanuts, right, so I respect that.
Right.
But in cost efficiency standpoint, if we had to get to bare bones spending, we could just
So you
upload
would-
to
yes.
YouTube and that would be free
Yes.
versus what we're paying today.
It's all part of when I do the minutes and I upload the video and all of that onto the website.
But I do think that we lose access to some folks that do just watch Channel 15 and might not be able to go online and have
Yeah.
the tech savvy to do that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think we're doing a service to our community by having this available.
Everybody
And
watch.
another thing you gotta consider here, is that Northwest Access TV is kind of an important thing.
It's
And if
incredibly
communities
important.
don't support it,
Yeah.
it's gonna go away, we're not gonna have it.
So what are you thinking, Mr. Chair, about increasing it by 500?
I set up to 2,500.
I didn't hear the two.
Something like that. And maybe I
That's much more me than you.
What's that?
That's more me than you.
Well, maybe I mumbled too. That was just one thought I had.
Or do you wanna hold off till the next meeting, or just, or somebody wanna make a motion for 2,500? I would go higher, so I'm not gonna make that motion. I would probably wouldn't go the full 4, but I think I'd go the 3.
I'd like to make a motion that we increase it to 2,500.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to increase the Northwest Access recording appropriation to $2,500. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed,
Opposed.
so moved.
Okay. I got another one. This is not asking for any amount. This is from the Franklin County Senior Center at 75 Messenger Street. They're encouraging every town in the county to contribute to our mission of serving an older community members. We're asking each manager to consider a small donation or a large if you have it, so that when we report who has contributed to help keep the center open, we can say each town is represented. We're not asking for a great deal, but that you can be included and be excited for us that every town has helped with our mission. Franklin County Senior Center, Inc. first opened its doors in 1967. It's the oldest senior center in Vermont. FCSC is based in and has proudly operated at the old Messenger Street School in St. Albans for many years. We are fortunate to own this wonderful old historic building, but it comes with many needs. The building presently needs insulation in the attic, upstairs windows replaced, and our goal is to have heat pumps in each room. It needs to be handicapped accessible to the second floor, which means we need to put in an elevator. All of these needs are very expensive. Currently, we serve 300 members and many additional non-members. We embrace healthy aging for seniors to thrive. We offer a variety of activities and programs such as exercise, chair, yoga, dance clubs, games, and meals to fulfill cultural, educational, and nutritional needs. Buildings belonging and correctedness, and helping to maintain healthy lifestyles for our aging populations regardless of income. If your manager could consider a token gift to us for the 2024-2025, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for considering us. This is Patricia Ross, Executive Director. They're not asking for a specific amount, but I do know that there's a number of Swantonians that go out there. They don't have a senior center here like they used to. And we certainly know what trying to upkeep an old building can involve.
Sounds like a library. So, do they have a senior thing up in Grady,
I don't know.
No.
senior center?
No.
I
The closest one I believe is in Alberg.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one
Does
over there.
Albert get us up or anything?
Alberg has not hit us up.
Although there's the SASH program, and they operate from the library. They do the bone builders, they do the Tai Chi every.
The library.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, our seniors need to be fed, and it's getting tougher and tougher and tougher for them to buy their groceries. And this is probably a way for us to help them, but as you just listed some of the stuff that they do, we do the same thing here at the library and at the rec center. So our seniors would have access to that anyway.
entertain a motion to make a donation. If we don't get a motion, we're gonna move on. A motion in an amount.
We've gotta show some support, don't you think? Even if it's minimal.
Are they looking for a one-time donation? Is that it?
It doesn't say one time, it just says a token donation. So, you know, I just suspect that you, like anything else, if they receive money from somebody this year, well, then they'll be asking next year, which would be
What
something.
if we give them 200 out of our miscellaneous budget and not put it in as appropriation right now?
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, at least to show some support.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to offer a donation of $200 out of the miscellaneous line item out of our regular general budget.
Your second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
You got more?
Yeah, two more. This one is from the Vermont Family Network. The mission of the Vermont Family Network is to empower and support all Vermont children, youth, and families, especially those with disabilities or special health needs. Do this by giving a strong start, lifting family voices, and advancing inclusive communities. Formed in 2008 when two organizations, the Vermont Parent Information Center and the Parent to Parent in Vermont, merged, the VSN has collectively served families across Vermont more than 30 years. Vermont children, youth, and families provided with one-stop shop to help keep each other to potential. They're writing today to ask support for continuing to serve families in Swanton and throughout the state with an appropriation of $250, traditionally primarily funded through state and federal grants. We find that waning funds threaten to slow our work and minimize the number of families we can support. We're reaching out to communities like yours who have served many families to seek your help. Your appropriation will help ensure the work that we do and all around the state continues with the same excellence and care that it has for the past 30 years. They're proud to serve families with expert information, referral assistance, and services provided by family consultants. While we have offices in Williston, Newport, and New Rutland, we support most families virtually. Fiscal year 2024, our family support consultants serve 1,370 Vermont families with one-to-one support. In addition, we have a robust website with resources for families, bi-monthly webinars, and an annual conference attended by both parents and professionals. Thank you very much for your consideration. The funding received will go a long way toward ensuring our ability to continue providing much-needed services to Vermont families, children, and youth. Please feel free to reach out to our Director of Operations, Michelle Kessler, to get their email address and phone number. This is signed by Katie Cadell, Development Officer. They're located at 600 Blair Park, Suite 240 in Williston. So they're looking for $250.
Do you know how many of our residents they might serve? We have.
I don't know.
They said 1,300 total for the state, right?
1,300 total for the state.
Yeah, I'm not that interested in supporting that one. It's just me. I entertain a motion. Hearing none, we move on.
Okay. This is the last one. This is from the Cat Crusaders of Franklin County. They're a nonprofit organization dedicated to reducing the number of unwanted cats in Franklin County. Our mission is to stabilize barn cat colonies and reduce free-roaming cat populations through the Trap, Neuter, Return (TNR) program. TNR is a proven, humane, cost-effective method that helps reduce outdoor cat population, improve their overall health. Through our program, cats are humanely trapped, spayed, neutered, and vaccinated to return to their original environment, where caretakers and farmers help maintain their well-being. It's a 100% volunteer-run, nonprofit organization. We rely solely on donations, community support to continue this vital work. Last year, we were able to help over 450 cats and kittens, including several from Swanton, at an average cost of $80 per cat. We're requesting a donation of $500 to support the ongoing TNR efforts. Your contribution help us cover veterinary care costs, enable us to continue a positive impact in the community. for tax deduction purposes, our CCFC federal EIN, their federal ID number. Thank you for your time and consideration. Your support will have a lasting difference in the lives of many cats and people who care for them. Sincerely, Jamie Rushford, President. And she's located in Eadsburg Falls. So they're asking for $500.
Just a quick math there, that's 62 and a half cats.
Well,
I was just saying, do we believe that Swan has 62 and a half cats that need help? So otherwise that's
way more than that. But
Well, you got that many
bother
barn
me.
cats sitting around? No.
I was gonna say, working with the animal control officer, there are pockets of the community
Oh,
that do
really?
have large amounts of feral cats. Yeah.
Do we have any track record at all of using these folks? I mean, I know they
No.
said they've done some for.
I think they're one of multiple organizations that are spearheading, trying to curb the feral cat population of Franklin County.
Something we should talk to Jim about, see if he dealt with them much, or if they legit, that sort of thing, and then we can go for next meeting to, does that work, people? Just moving?
I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
smart.
work much with cats.
Because that's what I just
They
looked at
definitely
animal
take
control,
care
and
of
I'm seeing
themselves.
mostly dogs, I'm not seeing cats, but if they're working with cats quite a bit.
Well,
Anywhere.
our animal control officers in the ordinance is only 4 dogs, so
Yeah.
we don't deal with
Oh,
cats. So
yeah.
we
Sorry.
depend on outside organizations to help with our cat
How many times
population.
So-
they'll deal with a cat that's sick or injured and dying in the street.
Okay.
Take care of it.
Alright, so, on with the,
So Brian and
Okay.
I will get together tomorrow and see who we have not received a letter or
Yeah.
request from. And reach out to them to see if they want to request again, but how do you wanna proceed? You wanna take things out of the budget and then do them separately again, to put them back in, or we can leave it as it is? Put them out to be voted on separately, like sometimes we do some year?
I would just leave it the way we've been doing it,
Okay.
you know, and if voters don't like something in there, then, you know, they can make the issue known to us. And we can, you know, because you're gonna start voting on them one at a time, I mean, that's crazy.
You know, one of the things we're gonna consider, what if somebody votes no on our overall budget because they don't like one of these appropriations? And we need all the help we can get, all the support we can get.
Well, they could.
They could.
Yeah, I mean, they could
Yeah,
kill a
they
budget because
could.
they don't like the cats, or, I don't need to use that as an example.
I'm comfortable this year leaving it in with the stipulation we verify with letters, and we get this to a little more formal process. Part of me likes the idea every 3-4 years you do one line item. I know it's a pain, but 4 minutes, you know, or less, checking off the box. But for this year, I'm not gonna push to dig it out.
So I don't have the Northwest Solid Waste number yet, but it's usually around that $8,800 mark. So we got the rescue budget, we got the library budget, and we got the recreation budget. So pretty much the only numbers I'm missing is the Northwest Solid Waste and Franklin County tax.
And, oh, that's right, fire and police go on highway.
Exactly.
But can I also add in, sorry, for the appropriations real quick, I liked your idea of informing them this year though. Could we send a letter this year to inform those
Yeah.
groups that next year we are gonna require, and it will be by X
Right.
date,
Yeah.
that, you know, you need to send some sort of letter in, like,
Yeah.
sounds like the vast
Perfect.
majority are. That way they're just informed this year, like, it's gonna be a new,
We might be able to just email some of them
Yeah.
too. with the-
Yeah, we just have a record that
Like the
we've
Swanton
done.
Enhancement Project.
yeah, full year notice.
Hey, I'm not president, I wasn't gonna say anything.
I'm just picking.
I know. It's all good. Okay, I know we're all getting tired. Letter of support for Canada Streetscape Grant for the Village of Swan and tree planting, and that's probably Brian, so. He should be back here shortly. You wanna start talking about promote Swan activities?
Yeah, go ahead and vote.
Sure, we can. And I'm glad Susie's on the call. Hi, Susie. I hope you're still there. Susie, Earl, and I met with our website maintenance team at EcoPixel to kind of discuss some of changes that we'd like to see to our website to what we think would make it more user-friendly, but also promote Swanton a little bit more. We also talked about creating a more user-friendly calendar experience, and I brought copies of that with me in my stack. Give me just 1 second. Of just kind of the standing events that are happening in the community. So I brought one for everybody to have, just so you can see it, as it's something too also that we'd like to share with the community on town meeting day. And this is just a draft of community events. We'd also like to make sure that we add in all of the public meetings. And then one of the things that we did talk about as well with the website developer is adding a section, or not adding necessarily, but changing the section where it says about us to highlight more visitors, or to attract people in that visitor demographic to come to our community. So that would break it down into a page where we would keep an updated business directory of the businesses, break it down to where people can shop, people can eat, people can sleep or recreate, or all of the different subcategories. They did send us an estimate for that. Is that in the? For $3,929 to implement the costs that we spoke of. In order, and you can see the list details here that we've asked to change in their implementation proposal.
That also includes redoing our homepage.
Again, to make it a little bit more user-friendly.
Yeah.
This goes on our website, you said.
This would be our website, right?
Just the town, this just affects the town.
No, this would affect everybody.
Everybody, it's,
So is the village paying for half of this too?
no, not the way we talked about it, because this is a town thing, so we thought we'd just do it through the general budget. And then everybody in town pays, all of town residents do, because village residents are town residents too. And it's gonna support businesses, not just, I mean, it ain't just for businesses in the village, it's also for businesses outside into the town, and activities outside of the town.
So this, I mean, first of all, this is a good idea, but we're gonna create another website?
No, we're going to,
Oh, okay.
we're gonna redevelop our current website to have a visitor interface and to have a more robust calendar. Right now, our calendar is just listed by date per activity. We've asked them to develop it where it's more of like a month overview, so people can see see a calendar similar to this. They can scroll over, say, the 17th, and they'll see that there was, Tai Chi at the library today. There's also X, Y, and Z happening. And then there's a select board meeting tonight, so they can see all the events for one day in one spot. And again, redesigning that homepage of our current webpage to say, at the top it says town, village, service, community, and about. It would say town, villages, services, residents, and then visitors. So
Maybe, it could say something different, but it's gonna be specific to what's happening here in town, activities and business. We're trying to help the business promotion part of it.
So
Something that's done in other communities, that are aggressive about promotion.
So that way when folks turn around and they open up our website and they're looking to visit, they can hover over that visit,
Yeah.
and then they can see all of our business directories. They'll be able to see a more robust, like a month view of our calendar instead of just what you're seeing here. As we think that will help promote our activities, our businesses, and our community overall. And we chose starting with our current website as the direction of.
Yeah, basically we're on the page.
And I think one thing I talked with you about is trying to get where we got some easy way to email.
So we have that now under the calendar. People can send things in that they want on the website.
Right.
And it comes straight to my email to be approved before I put it on. It's not like they can automatically add things.
Right, what we were talking about when I was in here was feedback
Yes.
on the site itself.
Adding a place, so one thing that Joel and I talked about was adding a place where somebody in Swanton or even outside could submit a question to the town.
Yeah.
So we wanna ask Paul about that.
Yeah.
Adding a
That'd be
way for
nice-
them
it'd be
to
nice to
submit a
get
question
feedback.
or
Someone
subject
looks
or
in there and
suggestion.
said, you know, an easy way for them to say, you know, I tried to do this and I can't, or it'd be really nice if you added this. We look at it and say, yeah, well, we're not gonna do that or whatever, but it.
Yeah, no, I,
Get some
in the
some
same way,
feedback.
they could submit a question or a suggestion.
Yeah.
Because we look at that history and there's a lot of people.
Yeah, cause he sent me.
So- Quick question though, with that calendar, would we have a subscription service that people could sign up to get like a monthly outlook of here's the events that are upcoming?
No, it would just be whatever we build into the calendar. So I can build all of these events into the calendar,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would show up on the calendar for people.
Okay.
I can build all of our meetings in, and they would see them, and that's one thing he was gonna do, is combine the meetings and the community calendar to one calendar. Are you
So this
talking-
would still require people to come to our website on a monthly basis to understand what's happening. My thought is there a way that we can be proactive where if somebody does have interest and says, I wanna know about the rec programs that are happening on a monthly basis so I can be informed of when I need to take my kid there or whatever, could we email them and set it up where then we can say, hey, we've got X number of citizens in Swanton that are signing up to know what events are happening.
I mean, so you're talking about like having a constant contact where when new events are added, things are reported back to folks. Because I mean, with the rec department, if you're signed up for our membership at the rec department, you're going to get continual updates of new programs, of deadlines, and things like that, because we mail that out. But as far as the community calendar goes, are you like explain to me the subscription service more?
So I guess my thought process was if I'm new to Swan and I want to know what's happening in the area, I'm going to the website and I'm looking at the calendar that we now have up there. But if I want to know, like, hey, can I get an email from you guys, like essentially a summary of what's the month ahead look like? And so it would just be like a distro to say, here's like that list that you have here of the events that are upcoming. If we know the month ahead, this is the events that are happening. Could we send that out in an email to them, say, hey, just a heads up, here's the events that are coming, like you need to register or whatever it is for those events. Just an idea.
Then we'd have to maintain the list.
Well, that'll be on the computer. I think, you know, this whole web thing is, you know, we got a new web, way better than what we used to have.
Oh yeah, no, the
But
website's
you can't just leave it there. You gotta, every year, and I think something that you're talking about is something we might be looking at. But right now, we need to do a little, I think, promotion and marketing a little bit better for ourselves, than what we're doing right now. But you know, that's gonna have to be something that, you know,
We're all
we can
ears,
add
it's a
on
great
later.
idea.
Yeah.
One of the things Joel was just talking about was the counters, and if you look in June, and look at the peak in the summer, is that people that are coming to the community and wanna know what they can do that time of year. So if they could find those resources on the website, you can definitely see the spike. This was the counter he sent of when people are using the website and what pages they're looking at.
Do we do like online marketing to drive people to the website, or is this all organic traffic?
It's all organic currently.
But you're right.
We're exploring that, so we'll take all the information you've got.
All right,
In
sounds good.
fact, what we wanted to bring before the board in a dollar amount was the 39, right?
The 39.
And then we were looking for another additional 1,000 for the brochures that we'd like to use for, especially for the rail trail, and maybe around town promoting things. And we don't have a design on that yet, but you know, we got some figures. It's going to be about $1,000, maybe not quite that much, and then might be some printing costs afterwards. And then we were looking for, how much did we say to look at promoting this? We wanted to put a little bit in the budget to probably get one of these professional consultants that do the work you're talking about to set these things up, because apparently you can do this. You can, if you know how to use that Google, you get it in there. So people, you know, might be looking for something else, but Swan's going to come in there.
Yep.
You know, you guys know that better than I do. You know how that works.
No, but I think it just my experience is if we have that traffic that's organically coming in, how do you capture that and then interact with them where then it's a follow-up so that way you can get more people engaged. So that's great. No, I'm
Good idea. So you're looking at next year's budget allocation?
Yes, we'd like to have it put in the budget that we're
Well,
working on right now.
For the
I recommend we take it right out of the special funds.
Well, that was what Nicole was saying, but what do we got in there?
Well, we've got a balance of uncommitted funds where we gotta take the library out, so that's somewhat been committed around 120,000 or so. There's 369 uncommitted. There's a spreadsheet we can talk about. There's money in there to cover this if we wanted to approve it.
do we have a budget?
I actually put 5,000 when you were asking for the 39, when I just did up a quick little note, cause we were gonna talk about, special funds tonight.
Yeah, but where's the sheet on that?
But are we gonna have like a retained budget? And apologies, I'm sure it's
That's a
already
great
in there.
question.
But for like the maintenance of the website and these edits that you guys are looking to do, is that something like an always on sort of thing that we wanna?
so we do pay an annual maintenance
Okay.
fee
To EcoPixel.
to EcoPixel.
Mm-hmm.
This is for the
said that
additional
though.
development of the proposed changes that we asked for, so that
Okay.
3,900 is those proposed changes that we're looking for to make what we
Yeah.
feel would be a more user-friendly experience on our
Okay.
website. Then the additional 1,000 is the development of a brochure, not to include the cost of printing. And then, hi Susie, and then additionally onto that, again, would be some marketing money to do some, promotion through, say, Google
Okay.
or any of those top engine.
So you're proposing that we allocate about $5,000 from this fund
Yes.
for Earl and
Yeah,
Nicole talking
that's what, all the roughly numbers are looking at.
But really, that's the bill for next year.
So, I heard Earl was interested in putting, and then we're kinda jumping the gun, but it ties in here too, so. Earl was wanted to talk about special funds, so I asked Kathy to give me the latest on our special funds, whichever, she's passed this out before, and she sent me the latest copy. And this talks about what the board and previous boards have committed, what's been expended to date. You got a total of 880,000 that's been committed, of which only 226 has been expended. There's a balance of 653 in the committed area, but then you look at the total ARPA received, 1.2, and you take out the committed, the balance that has not even been committed right now is 369,129, of which we talked about doing those library repairs. I didn't have that exact number today, but I know it was in the like 120 range when we took into the, we already said we were gonna do the contract to insulate, and then we gotta figure out the ductwork and so on. So I put 120 down for library. 4th Street contamination, I threw in a number of 60,000, which we talked about earlier. LVRT, I'd like to add 20,000, just earmark it, we don't hopefully spend it.
Yeah, well, we had 90,000 allocated to
I know.
LMT, and now you're down to only 20,000 left, and then you got down here grant match. That doesn't come out of the 90,000? If you go down.
These were
Oh,
these
that's
done
separate.
separately. They were done at different meetings. Notice it was 2022 when we started doing the design.
Okay, so that was done, and then afterwards, the 90,000 was committed for the building of it. A match for the building, right? For the actual construction?
That was
No,
the actual
90,000.
start of design and everything, right, Joel?
Yes,
Yeah,
and
that's
you
design.
take the balance of the 20 and you add in the other two numbers. That's what we have left toward our match.
Okay.
How do we even get sorry, if I can take a step back, how did we even get the 1.2 to start?
That was the American Rescue Act.
Yeah.
where the feds just opened the floodgates, and that's part of the financial problems, they put all this money out there. And some formula they came up with gave the town of Swanton 1.2 million. Said, here's your money, go do something.
Yeah.
It's called-
Stimulate that
it's called
economy.
inflation.
Yeah, and that's, yeah.
That was the giveaway.
Okay.
So that's how we got that. And there were some certain strings.
Now, you put 60,000 for forestry, but it's only 30, was it 60,000 that we looked at tonight?
No, it was 30, but
30.
then
Then I
the
explained
plan
that there was
there's-
two other, there's about 11,000 more, so you're talking 41,000. We might as well pad it because, again, if we don't spend it,
Yeah.
we can, it'll
use it
come
for the
back.
redevelopment.
It would just, and so what I did is I added up those numbers and the balance I said would go into our capital improvement fund and we can take it out there and do major projects.
And you figure you're gonna need another 20,000 besides the 90,000 for the LVRT.
To meet our match for the grants, yes.
See, now one thing here is, and I gotta check, I don't think we've gone back and asked for our reimbursements yet. I think we've been paying the design fee and we should be getting reimbursements back. And that's probably why that shows so much money out of that 69.
Yeah, because it's
We
more
should
money
get-
than I originally thought we would have needed.
No, the total is what we need for the match. And we get, like right now, of that 69,000, I bet 80% of that comes back. And it's used toward the match of the actual project. I'll go back and get all those numbers and show you.
Yeah, go, well, get the money, I don't care about the numbers, look at it,
Right.
get the money.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Joel, about 80% of that?
Got enough paperwork
Yeah, it's a
here.
2080. Well, it's a 600. It's $600,000 for construction. So to do the match, you know.
And just like with the rec, I'm just wondering, how is this money managed here? Do we have this in a money market account as well, or is this in a savings, or?
What
No.
are you,
Right.
what are you talking about?
Special
You
fund.
said rec, you said
Oh,
rec?
just like with the rec, we were asking about that
Special
60,000, the special
Oh,
funds.
it's all in an account, one account,
Okay.
and it's like in a sweep account, so it goes,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you're getting, you get interest on that, right?
that, all of that's getting interest.
Getting over 3?
I believe so.
What's the interest rate now?
And I think it's like 3-something, 3.2 or 3-something, I know it's in there.
Is it tied to something?
That's, yeah.
It's tied to a lot of things.
No, I'm talking about the interest rate. Is
That's
it
not
tied to
small
something?
amount.
No,
No.
it's tied, well, it's tied on how it's in an investment, well, I can't say investment,
that
it's in
covers
a
this.
sweep account that has a lot of different funds in it, so it's
What
not
does it
like
say?
just
Covers
one
all
fund
this?
tied to everything, it's a lot of, I get like 2.5
sorry,
pages of
in
the
there.
investments. And then we realize the interest on it,
Yep.
that it gets put into, and then it comes back to us.
So if it's indexed, the bank doesn't have discretionary control.
No,
Okay, that's
No.
good. That's good.
no,
So you're ending up with a balance of 164,000,
That still is not
not committed.
committed.
Right. One thing we should keep in mind though, because
Kathy,
we-
did you get that other sheet? Special fund sheet.
With Sharon, if you got an extra copy of it.
Thought I passed enough in there. Maybe that's it right there. Maybe that's the missing link.
no, that's it.
You got the 154 or
164, it's on a special fund page, that's what the remaining balance is,
you know, okay.
alright? And, but one thing we ought to keep in mind here, because I see we got that streetscape, it looks like the village is gonna be trying to get funding to do Canada or
That's right.
Church Street.
Yep.
And there was gonna be some stormwater improvements there. They had to address some, because did you have that conversation when Reggie was there about when we had this water issue here in the cellar? About putting if we were to put a footing drain on this building, we don't really have a place to do it without a pump, but when they were gonna redo their stormwater on,
Well, what they're thinking about is we could pipe it out to, they have one right here at the corner,
yeah,
and we could run a pipe.
when they redo the project,
Right,
it would
but we
be
don't
at,
have that problem anymore,
well, you had some water come in here again, didn't you?
No.
2 years ago?
not
this-
since we repointed.
I thought you said after once the other summer we did. The first summer it was repointed. Not this summer, the summer before there was a little bit of, it wasn't serious.
I mean, it might have been, like,
trickle, but no.
Yeah, what I'm saying, but it's gonna be something in another 10 or 15, 20 years where you're gonna have the same damn thing.
Well, that's why, you know, if we put this money in the capital improvement,
Well,
so we're putting
yep.
25 a year, so we've already got 25, we're gonna get 25 more,
50, so now we're up to,
could possibly have
220.
200,000 in capital improvements, and some of these other lines may not come out
right.
to what we even predicted.
And then I know you had talked about the furnace here is getting pretty old too in this building, and maybe not quite the capacity it should be. So there's gonna be some, but I think it's a good idea if we did put the remaining balance in the capital reserve, so we'd have that money there. It'd give us a boost on it along, and then we don't have to ask more than the 25 right now.
And, yeah, and not to go too far down, away from this right now,
Yeah.
but there would be a place where we'd have that available and insulate probably this, above the ceiling would probably save us thousands a year.
Yep.
But, so that was just, I know we don't even have to agree on any of this tonight, I just, in looking at, special funds, that's just what I got thinking of. There's one way to commit some of that and get some things done.
Well, I
Do
guess
you wanna
what's
approve the project though for the website?
okay, yeah. What's sellable to you guys? I mean, do we go with 6,000 out of the special funds, or do we put 6,000 in the budget? If you'd rather
I'd
either
rather
way.
use special funds because we're sitting on this money and we're not gaining
Yeah,
that much
and
year
I
to year.
don't, and looking at some of the budgets we saw tonight, I don't wanna add too much more to be raised by taxes either, so. I think maybe we'll just do the 6,000, but we're gonna make a motion that we're gonna appropriate that money specifically for that purpose tonight, and I will make the motion.
I'll second that, I have a question. Kathy, are we getting the 3% on this money here?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So we probably earned enough to cover
Yeah.
this expense this year.
Motion been made and seconded to take out of our special funds up to $6,000 for the Promote Swanton project.
Specifically for updating the website and promoting.
Well, he already made the motion for that one line item, he didn't, yeah.
So are we doing, so my question is, are we going to also do the library, 4th Street contamination, and then what about rail trail?
I'm gonna bring that up after we go
Oh,
through
okay,
with
sorry.
his 6,000, so.
I'm not,
Can.
why don't we make that, we get the real numbers, you know?
We got the numbers.
Oh, you think that's gonna
Well,
cover it?
yeah, let me explain
Can I
that.
get the special funds? I got a repairs upgrade direct.
You need copies?
I'm gonna have to.
I was looking, I was like, I'm seeing a real low.
All right, so right now we have a motion for 6,000 coming out of special funds. It has been seconded to cover Promote Swanton. And is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. So what, this I think could be just a guide, Earl.
Yeah.
So-
Just pass over.
So the 120 for the library, right now, we just put it right down in the capital improvements. And then-
Yeah, leave everything right in
and
there.
then when we vote those others, but we just know we gotta earmark
That's right.
that library
You
repair,
know?
the
Yeah.
LVRT and the contamination, I would like to commit those funds to those two
Well,
line items.
So you want more money for the RVT?
That's what I'm saying. out
Over
of-
the 90,000 we allocated before.
Well, we allocated more than that. We have these two.
Okay, that's
numbers.
right, it was 120, so we're gonna allocate even more.
But it's just like contingency. We don't spend that. When we get the bids, then it'll go back to the capital improvements money. I'm just trying to get an earmark to know that there's that 20,000 there when we go out to bid. And if we don't wanna commit to that, it'd be in the capital improvements anyway, so
Are you proposing that we put all this money right for the time being into capital improvements, which kinda makes sense, cause that's where it's all gonna get spent on afterward?
well, I would like to commit 60,000
You want
to the
that
4th
committed
Street
right now?
cleanup. To approve that 30,000.
Alright, then I'll move that we commit 60,000 of the special funds for the 4th Street cleanup.
And I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve up to $60,000 for the cleanup and the 2 follow-on studies. for the 4th Street project. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so moved. Entertain a motion to commit 20,000 additional to the LVRT project.
I'll make a motion to commit $20,000 additional dollars out of the special funds for the LVRT project.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yeah. Oops.
Go ahead.
You think you got money coming back, it'd be nice to know that at our next meeting.
You won't know that till we get a bid out there.
Yeah, but I mean, on the money that we've already spent, you said that 68,000.
Oh, I'll give you a clarification of
Yeah.
what we spent, and then I'm
what we're
quite sure.
entitled to.
I'm sure what the issue there is. The 80% has not been asked for.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So that's any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right. I don't even know where we are on the agenda anymore. Let me see. We took care of promote. We're going back to the streetscapes and the tree planting letters of support.
So this is the first letter of support. This is for the Village Transportation Alternatives application. It's just a letter accepting demonstration of solid support for the village's application to the TA grant for the purpose of implementing traffic improvements at Canada Street in our village center. I'll pass that around if you want to look at it and sign it. Actually, Heidi from the village had drafted that language, and I just put it on our letterhead.
So we want approval for this?
I move that we approve the project. That we show our support for the project.
For the grant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded. Show project for the Village Transportation Alternatives application, Canada Street Improvements project. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay. And the next one is endorsing the application by Swanton Village to the Swanton Enhancement Project for funds to plant a number of street side trees. The select board is financially supported to accept beautification initiatives for 3 years, increasing the contribution to $4,000 to the 2025 budget. And so Hank Lambert basically wrote this letter and transcribed it and placed it on our letterhead to give support for that grant application.
I'll entertain a motion to approve support for the Vermont Urban and Community Forestry Program grant request for the Swanton Enhancement Project.
I move.
I will second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right, Community and Economic Development.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Any other necessary business? Correspondence?
No correspondence.
Public comment? Upcoming events?
December 24th and 25th, 2024 is the Christmas holiday. Office and operations in the town of Swanton will be closed. December 31st, 2024 and January 1st, 2025 will be the New Year's holiday. Office and operations for the town of Swanton will be closed. January 6th, 2025 will be a planning commission meeting at 5 p.m. here in the town offices and by Zoom. January 7th, 2025 will be a regular select board meeting at 6 p.m. here at the town offices and by Zoom.
Okay, executive session.
Mr. Chair, I move.
Legal, contracts, personnel.
Legal and personnel.
I move that we
Legal and
find that we
personnel.
enter executive session for the select board to receive confidential legal and personnel information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
We're a second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Steve? Brendan?
Yep.
Joel, yes. Earl?
Yep.
Nicole?
Yes.
All right.
I move that based on our just made findings, the premature disclosure will place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage. We now enter executive session.
We're a second.
Second.
Steve?
Right.
Brendan?
Yep.
Joel, yes. Earl?
Yep.
Cole?
Yep.
Okay, we're now in executive.
Motion to come out of executive session. Ready? Alright, I move we exit executive session. Your second? Second. Motion been made, second, exit executive session, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye. Aye. Opposed, so moved. Entertain a motion to change Christina's title to Assistant Town Administrator.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Who seconded that?
Everybody, okay? Every pickle, all right?
You?
Any
No,
further
thank you.
discussion?
Good job.
No further discussion, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. I'll entertain a motion to hire an attorney to work on a tax exempt issue with one of the retailers in Swanton.
Oh, I make that motion.
There's a second,
Let's just spend up to $5,000.
that should be the motion, so. Motion to spend up to 5,000. I'll second it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye. Aye. Opposed, so moved. I move that we adjourn. Just a second. Whoops.
Spelled correctly.
What's that? I didn't look at that.
That's fine. Well, the other ones it's fine, it's just this one's done.
Oh. Okay, I move we adjourn. There a second to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
I just didn't know if it would cause any hiccups. I assume
Well, let's try and get something twice, or it's a different number.
Merry Christmas.
Oh,
Okay.